Mary Kephart is suing the father of her child, William Malone, for the return of her clothes, a loan to pay court fines, and for half the cost of a Las Vegas vacation.
All rise. Now it's case number 394 on the calendar in the matter of Kephart versus Malone.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Why don't you folks have a seat?
Ms. Kephart, we're going to take care of some easy stuff first before we get into the nitty-gritty of the alleged loan that you made to this former boyfriend of yours. Am I correct that you have a child together?
Yes.
How old is your child?
2.
How long have you lived together?
About a year and a half.
First, the easy part is that you broke up, and when he left, he took a whole bunch of your clothes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Malone says that he did take your clothes.
Correct.
But he took your clothes because he had bought them for you shortly before you separated, and so he took them, right?
Correct.
You can't do that.
He didn't. Can I?
Shh. You can't do that. Do you understand? That's a gift. I mean, unless you were cross-dressing, sir, in your closet, and you were wearing the clothes and you bought them for yourself. You're not going to tell me that, Mr. Malone, are you? In
No.
front of this person, you're not going to tell me
No,
that.
I'm
Or
not.
10 million
He didn't even buy
people,
them.
you're not going to tell me that. So you bought the clothes
You
for
didn't
her.
even pay for him, though.
Shh.
I'm sorry.
Listen. Don't aggravate me. It's very close to lunch.
She didn't even want to wear them, though. I mean, we went to Vegas.
I don't care if she wanted to pour bleach on them, or if she wanted to give them away, or if she wanted to let her dog walk around with them. They're her clothes. You can't take her clothes. Do you understand?
Even if I pay for them?
He didn't even pay for him. I'm sorry, but
I'm going to say goodbye to you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You don't want me to say goodbye right yet, do
I'm
you?
sorry. No.
She doesn't have to pay for them. They're a gift. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes, I do.
What did you do with the clothes?
I gave some of them away, and I sold some of them.
Fine. And how much did the clothes cost?
$7.97 and 15 cents.
So that's so far what you owe her, Mr. Malone. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let's deal with the loans. When did you start to live together?
March 06.
And when was the first loan?
September this year.
So you were in your relationship for a
The end
long
of it.
time. You were living together as a couple, not married.
Right, and he just, yeah.
Are you married?
No.
You have other children?
Yes.
How many?
4 others.
4 others. What do you do for a living?
Construction.
You must be very, very busy with your construction business. Do you
Yes.
pay child support for your other children?
Yes, I do.
How much?
$83.16 a week.
$83.67 a week? For how many children? Shh! For how many children?
3 of them are actually mine. The 4th one I just claim as my own.
So you pay $83 a week for 3 children.
Yes.
And how much do you pay for this child?
None.
Why?
We haven't had a court order yet set.
Does that mean that your child is on hiatus from eating?
No. No, it doesn't. We haven't been talking much since this all
Well, that's
happened.
what we're here for. We're talking. Right?
Right.
Good. So let me first figure out, Mr. Malone, just so that you understand what the ground rules are. $83 divided by 3 equals $27 a week for each of your 3 children.
Correct.
We're going to divide that by 7, because there are 7 days in a week,
Okay.
equals $3.95 a day. Where'd you get all the bling?
Actually, from her.
Pawn it. Send it to your children.
I don't get to see him much. I mean, I was...
I don't care whether you see them. You were there when they were made, weren't you?
True.
They didn't ask to be made, and they don't ask to live poor. Who was this person?
This is my father.
Oh, he should be thrilled about you. Mr. Malone, how long you married to his mother?
4 years.
Stand up. How many children did you have, Mr. Malone?
2. That's all I have.
With his mother?
No, just him.
Did you support him when he was growing up?
Yes, I did.
How much did you send for his support, Mr. Malone?
Oh, my name's Mr. Bash.
Mr. what?
Bash.
Bash.
Yes.
So hard to keep track of these modern relationships. Whose last name is Malone?
My mother's.
Were you ever legally declared his father?
No.
It's not an answer.
No. She had did something with the birth certificate in order for me not to try to get custody of my son.
And did she?
Yes.
Oh, sit down. It's like an epic. Sit. Oh. Listen, is this your mother?
Yes.
You know what she does when she looks at you? She says, happened to my gorgeous daughter? Where did her mind go? What was she thinking? What was she thinking? How many children do you have?
3.
How old are they?
13, 10, and 2.
And the 13 and 10-year-old live with you?
Yes.
Does their father support them?
Yes.
Does he see them?
Yes.
One father?
Yes.
Phew. When was the first loan that you made to him, and from what money?
The first loan was September 27th. Actually, they were all paid $1,000.20.
For what?
His DUI.
Who had a DUI? I'm listening.
Well, I asked her initially to pay for it before she came to any money at all, and she said she wouldn't.
Why did you ask her to pay for it?
Because I didn't have the money.
Why don't you go to your father? He hasn't paid for you since you were born. Why'd you bring him here? Why'd you schlep him here for today? Instead of going to a woman who's got 2 children that she's taking care of, why don't you go to your father? Go to your mother.
He was a sweet talker.
Just as... Oh, I'm sorry. You're getting very close to the door, Miss Kephart.
Sorry.
Very close to the door.
Well, he wouldn't pay for it. I'm assuming, because I've asked him before, because I've had fines before, and he wouldn't pay for them. So
You got fines before for what?
for driving, well, with no license, suspended.
Your fines were $1,020?
Right.
Who do you think's supposed to pay for those?
Well, she offered.
No. Who do you think is supposed to pay for those? You know what the fine is for?
For DUI.
Fine is like a punishment. Instead of putting you miscreants in jail for everything, because we don't have enough jails, if I were running the nut house, we would just build more jails. But because we don't have enough jails, we came up with this system of imposing fines as a form of punishment. If you do something wrong, you park where you're not supposed to park, you speed, you don't stop at a stop sign, you get punished. And your punishment is a fine. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Go.
She pays my fines for me. She doesn't have to drive me around anymore because now I can get my license. It's easier on her. The convenience for her is she gets it, you know.
You're an idiot.
And later today,
She doesn't have to prove anything. You have to prove it, sir.
Okay, you're right.
What do you mean I'm right? Of course I'm right. That's why people adore me, because I'm right.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Kephart says the father of her child, William Malone, owes for the value of her clothes that he won't return, an unpaid loan, and for his share of a trip to Las Vegas.
Now, it's not a punishment for you if somebody else does your punishment. I mean, can you imagine a system that we would have, Mr. Malone? If you got 30 days in jail, which was your punishment for DUI, and you said, you know what? I really don't want to do this 30 days myself. I'm going to get Officer Byrd to do the 30 days for me. I'm going to ask him a favor and say, you know, I really don't want to do it. I can't afford to do it myself. You know, I have to be out. I have things to do. So why don't you do me a favor? Go and do my jail time for me. Do you think we allow that in this country?
No.
You know why we don't allow it? Because if you do the crime, you're supposed to pay your own fines. You get it?
Yes, but
This is a yes, but.
But she
This
did
is
it.
a yes, but he doesn't know how close he's coming to giving me that bling. Go.
Well, if she pays my fines for me, she doesn't have to drive me around anymore because now I can get my license. It's easier on her. The convenience for her is she gets it, you know, she gets.
You're an idiot. What else does he owe you for?
I took him on a Vegas trip,
That's your problem.
but you know what? Can I take?
No. Listen, when you went to Vegas with him, did you share a room?
Yes.
Share a bed?
Yes.
Did you have a good time? Was it before or after you paid the fines for him?
It was after. I was going to take my mom, but he offered to pay the whole
She
thing.
wasn't as cuddly. Your mom wasn't as cuddly, probably a lot smarter, but not as much fun. Vegas trip you take care of yourself. You owe her $1,817, Mr. Malone.
There was a fine I paid of his for $533.
No, did she pay a fine for you also?
There was another fine across the river.
Another fine?
Yes.
How much?
$503.34 and $360.
What was $360?
This had something to do with the DUI, and the 50334 had something to do with something with him and his ex.
What was that all about, sir?
Me and my ex got into a domestic.
Me and my ex. And I assume you mean my ex-girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend.
And myself.
Right.
Got into an altercation.
Correct.
That resulted in a fine for me for domestic violence.
Right.
You see? Shorthand.
It's the way of the world.
Now, that fine, sir, is a punishment. She didn't hit your ex-girlfriend. Mr. Bash! Did you hit his ex-girlfriend?
No, ma'am.
Who hit his ex-girlfriend?
Apparently it was my son.
And who do you think ought to pay his fine?
Well, he should pay it.
And what was the other one?
$360.
What was that for?
When I paid the DUI, they said this was an additional fee with it. It was for $360. I don't know what.
Do you know what that's for, sir?
I'm assuming it would be for my lawyer. I had a court-appointed lawyer.
Why did you have a court-appointed lawyer? You're in construction.
I wasn't making enough money.
How much do you earn?
About $10 an hour.
What kind of construction do you do?
I make electrical panels.
Oh, well, you should get a job outside doing real construction work. It pays a lot better. And you have big expenses, sir. Tell her she has enough children. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,670. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm happy with the decision. It finally proved what kind of a guy this guy is.
Maybe I shouldn't take advantage so much.
Stay away from guys like that.
I wish I didn't have to go to court for all this and put on my laundry on the street, but, you know, hey, she got her money. She deserved it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus Davis, step forward.
18-year-old Janelle Johnson is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old Willie Davis, for the cost of earrings he purchased on her behalf. Janelle says Willie used her debit card to buy the gift.
Miss Johnson, according to your complaint, defendant was a friend of yours, and it is your claim that he bought some jewelry for you, and it was a gift, but he put it on your credit card.
It was in my name. I wanted to establish credit, so I had him put it in my name.
Put the charge in your name. Was it a charge from a store, or was it a credit card?
It was his debit card.
And he didn't pay you for it. So
He paid the first fee when you go in the store. After that, he didn't pay anymore.
The defendant acknowledges that,
Yes, Your Honor.
right?
Yes.
He was
Your
supposed to pay for the jewelry,
Honor. Your Honor, yes.
that he only made one payment.
Yes.
He doesn't say why he didn't make the rest of the payments, but says that you owe him some money that he loaned you for something, rent and some damage you did to his car. When did you buy this jewelry?
It was purchased sometime in June.
Tell me about how it got purchased. You were shopping with him?
He was going to Germany, I believe, he's in the military, and I wanted to establish some kind of credit because we went to purchase a phone together, and I found out I had no credit. So,
were you dating him, or?
Yeah, that's the thing. We dated maybe 4 days before he actually purchased the earrings. So when I went to the jewelry store, and the only reason why I wanted it in my name was for credit, but the only one condition, that it would be taken out of his bank account every month.
Just a second. He acknowledges that he owes you for the jewelry. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why didn't you pay her?
Because, Your Honor, I lent her money for her rent. And as well, okay, go ahead, Your Honor.
Just a minute. So that's what you're claiming?
Yes.
You're claiming that you didn't pay the debt that you owe because you loaned her money for rent.
Well, actually, what happened is she backed my car up into another person's car, and she cracked my bumper. On my way to Mexico, my bumper flew off because of what she did. So I call her, and I tell her, I said, you know, you're going to have to pay. I want my money back from the rent, as well as I want partial of what happened to my truck. And she lost it. She said she's not paying for nothing. She's going to get her money one way or another.
Well, sir, there is a paucity of evidence there on your side, sir, which means that you have no evidence, unless you're
right,
hiding it someplace in your pocket.
I'm not hiding it. I don't have any
like
evidence.
a picture of the car, like a bill to fix the bumper of the car. Where is all that?
I don't have it, Your Honor. But maybe Janelle, she'll tell the truth.
She doesn't have to prove anything. You have to prove it, sir.
Okay, you're right.
Of course. What do you mean I'm right? Of course I'm right. That's why people come here. That's why people adore me, because I'm right. Do you ever watch my courtroom?
No, Your Honor.
Then it was a big mistake for you to come here.
Okay.
Big. Because there are a lot of people that watch this courtroom every day.
Okay.
And a lot of people are going to see you making a fool out of yourself. How did you pay her rent? In check or cash?
I used the check, Your Honor.
Show me the check.
I don't have proof of it.
Why not?
Well, Your Honor, timing. I just had bad timing.
You had bad timing. What does
Yes.
that mean, Mr.
Because
Davis?
I work as well, Your Honor. I couldn't find time, you know.
To what?
To go and get proof.
You don't have to go anywhere, sir. You just bring your checkbook. And you go to the car place that fixed your car and you say, "Can I have a receipt? Because I can't find mine." Duh.
Okay.
All right, how much does he owe you on the ring?
It's $1,044.85 plus $74.24, which comes to $1,119.09. And then he paid $230 on his debit card, so $889.09.
Okay, you have any finance charges now?
Yes, I have late fees, total of $87.77. That's not counting the last month. I just paid $330 on the bill 2 weeks ago. That's not counting that, but $30 the subpoena, which I have because he failed to, I guess, take it, and then $50 of the cost to remove from collections, because this is when on my credit, affected my credit. Because it's on my credit.
Then you shouldn't have done it. Do you understand? You didn't need the earrings that badly.
It wasn't, Your Honor. He said he was going to get the earrings for me anyway, and I wanted them in my name so I could get credit. That's how it even came to he got them.
You knew him for 4 days.
No, I didn't. I knew him for 3 years, Your Honor. He's my
You
best.
were dating him for 4 days.
But I've known him longer than that. It doesn't matter how long I've dated him.
Mr. Davis, you owe $1,000. And if you wanted to bring a countersuit, which you filed, you should have been smart enough to bring some proof.
Well, Your Honor, I was working on it, but like I said, I work as well, so it was, it was hard for me
You're a
to
hustler.
do. No,
That's being a hustler. That's trying to hustle me.
no, I'm trying to.
You know how
hustle.
many cases I've done in the 12 years that I've been in this court? Tens of thousands. Do you know that nobody has ever said to me, "Well, Your Honor, you know, I was real busy. You know, and I didn't have time because I have a job, so I couldn't get proof."
Nah.
Nobody has ever said that to me, sir. They've given me all kinds of, you know, the dog ate my checkbook, right? The snake swallowed the pictures. But I never heard, I was too busy, I couldn't get anything. Nothing. My
I didn't wanna lie
checkbook,
to
my
you, Your
checkbook,
Honor.
my...
I didn't want to lie, so I told. I mean, that's the truth.
It's not the truth.
Okay.
It's not the truth. Where's the car?
It's back in my place.
Where's the car? Does it have a bumper on the back?
Nope. It's
If
missing.
it doesn't have a bumper on the back, sir, do you have a cell phone?
I do, but it doesn't have a camera on it, Your Honor.
It doesn't need a camera, sir. You see where I was going? All you have to do is spend $5 and go buy a disposable camera.
You're right, Your Honor.
How long did it take you to put that outfit together today for television? Right? To put the
not very
earrings
long.
in. How long? That amount of time when you go down to the local drugstore and you buy a camera for $5, you take a picture of the back of your car without a bumper. That's evidence. Then you wouldn't come here looking like a fool.
You're right, Your
Judgment to the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you.
That's case number 285 on the calendar in the matter of Holderbaum versus Gutierrez.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Ms. Holderbaum, Mr. Gutierrez is the cousin of your ex-husband.
Yes, ma'am.
And at some point, I don't know whether you were still married to your husband at the time. I assume you were. Is
Yes,
that right?
I was.
You co-signed a car loan, a lease, for Mr. Gutierrez.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And then something happened. You took the car back. And it ended up costing you a bundle for the lease. You want Mr. Gutierrez to be responsible. Mr. Gutierrez says, because of the way this all came down, it's your problem. When were you and your husband divorced?
Our
Or
divorce.
separated?
We separated in February of 2006.
And when did you co-sign this car lease for Mr. Gutierrez?
September of 2004.
Why didn't your husband co-sign for him? It's his cousin.
My husband told me it wasn't a good idea. I basically looked at it as he was a young man, a hard worker.
Your husband, who was his cousin, known him his whole life, said to you, "Don't do it, Shelley. It's not a good idea." And you want to know something? I would have told you the same thing.
I know, Your Honor.
Okay. So you co-signed this car lease for him. What kind of car did he lease?
Ford Expedition
What did he need a Ford Expedition for?
for him and his family.
How large is your family?
I have my wife and one son.
You could drive a smart car with your wife and one son. What'd you need a Ford Expedition for?
Well, first of all, when they came out, I would like to have a Ford Expedition.
I would like to be 5'6". It didn't happen to me.
But The thing is, sometimes I take my trucks to work, and I need more seats because I got like sometimes 3 to 4 helpers.
What happened to the truck that she co-signed for you?
Well, I had an accident.
Tell me about the accident.
Well, in Detroit, Michigan, where we live, it snows.
Just tell me, it was in the snow?
Yeah, it was snow.
What did you hit?
I hit a post on the sidewalk.
A post?
Yeah.
Post wasn't moving, right?
No.
So what happened to the car?
It didn't start back. So I called Shelly and told her what happened that day. And she just told me, I got to call the police to make the report. So she was going to call the insurance, and she will call me back.
What happened, Shelley?
Well, he hit a light pole, you know, no fault. He called me. I told him, as long as you're not hurt, nobody's not hurt, that's great. Even though I co-signed, I carried the insurance on the vehicle because I was afraid. If he didn't make a payment, I would find out about that in 30 days. If he didn't pay the insurance when something like this happened,
gotcha,
I would have been up.
Gotcha, Shelley.
So what happened was, it went to the body shop. They towed it directly to the body shop to the tune of $9,000 worth of damage, which wasn't even the problem, Your Honor. I had no problem. That's why they call them accidents. But while the vehicle was in the body shop, I received a certified letter from the DEA stating that Mr. Gutierrez was stopped in St. Louis, Missouri on January 19th with $309,900 in the vehicle. That's why he couldn't have the truck back.
So they were telling you that they were seizing the car?
No, they had given the vehicle back to him on site. They seized the money. They gave the vehicle back and released him.
What was $309,900 doing in your Ford Expedition?
I don't know.
Hidden in pants. It was just not in a duffel bag, Your Honor. It was hidden in compartments in the vehicle. So they basically ripped the truck apart, the whole interior, like plastic parts in the thing. The front console was ripped apart. Well, when I received that letter, Ford Motor Credit received the same letter.
Just a second. How many cars have you owned in your life? Give me an approximate number.
8.
I can't believe you're so much younger than I am. Probably owned 30 cars in my life. Aside from an occasional quarter that you may find, you know, when you're cleaning out your car. What would you do if you found $309,900 stashed in your car in various compartments? Would you have thought that the Tooth Fairy really existed? Mr. Gutierrez, did you really like this truck? You said you really wanted this truck, right?
Right.
And you used it for your family?
Yes.
And you used it for your work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
Don't
look down. Look at me.
Installer.
What?
Carpet installer.
Carpet installer.
Yes.
You do the work yourself?
Well, I have helpers.
That help you?
Yeah.
You go on the jobs with them?
Yes, ma'am.
You go on all the jobs with them?
Yeah.
So I assume if you have helpers, Mr. Gutierrez, you put them in the back of the car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you drive?
Yes, I drive.
And when you go out with your wife, does she drive?
No, I always drive.
So when do you think someone snuck this $300,000 into your car, Mr. Gutierrez?
Well, I'm not sure, ma'am.
Your Honor, and when he had the accident in February, less than 5 months, he had put 11,690 miles on that truck. And when I had called Mr. Gutierrez, because this was before I even knew about this happening, I called him, I said, you're only allowed at $12,000 a year. What were you going to do about all these miles? Because after $12,000, you're over for the year. He says to me, well, I was going to have somebody roll them back. I almost fell out. I said, you know,
the same person that put the $309,000 in his car.
He said, and I'm like, I'm a police officer. What are you talking about?
You're a police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Still a police officer?
Yes, ma'am. I have an exemplary, never been disciplined record.
Oh, Shelley.
I know, Your Honor.
Shelley.
2.5 years a nightmare I've been living this to help somebody.
He's a nightmare.
I know, Your Honor.
Where did you travel, sir, in the first few months that you had this? Listen to me very carefully. Where did you travel, Mr. Gutierrez, in the first few months that you had this car while you were busy with your wife and your son and installing carpet to put 12,000 miles on it in 4 months?
It was almost 1,000 miles.
Where had you traveled, Mr.
Okay,
Gutierrez?
I went once. I went to El Paso, Texas.
El Paso.
And
from where?
From Detroit, Michigan.
From Detroit, Michigan to El Paso, Texas.
Yes, ma'am.
Probably where they stuck all this money in your car.
Ma'am. And when I use it for work, just to go from my house to the shop where I pick up the material, is 30 miles.
Detroit to El Paso is how many miles, Mr. Gutierrez?
It's 1,100 miles.
One way?
Yeah, one way.
And how long did you stay in El Paso?
I stayed like for 4 days.
Who did you go with?
With my grandma.
With your grandma?
Yeah.
What's her name? It's not an answer when I ask you your grandma's name.
Ramos.
How old is she?
She just turned 80.
What did you take her to El Paso for 1,100 miles in a truck?
She lives in Juarez. It's the border with El Paso, Texas. And I went there to visit my family.
You said you took your grandmother in the truck.
No, I didn't took her.
So you drove there by yourself?
Yes, ma'am. I drive from...
You see stupid written over here, Mr. Gutierrez.
No, ma'am, no.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Somebody was doing something naughty in this vehicle, like transporting drugs in the car. Now, I'm not suggesting that someone would be you, sir. I'm not suggesting that at all.
And later today...
Mr. Courier says, I'm cute. Aside from saying I'm cute, you thought he was cute and nice.
Yeah.
He is, yeah.
Vicente Gutierrez crashed a Ford Expedition that was leased in her name. Shelley says the vehicle was eventually seized by the DEA.
How much did it cost you because of the over mileage and because of ripping the car apart?
$1,272.21 for the over mileage. The deductible on his accident was $350. The repair for the broken parts inside the vehicle was $715.50. I also had to pay for the pole he hit in the city because the city waited till after 6 months to bill it. I have that right there.
How much?
So the insurance wouldn't pay that. That was $399.49. I had to make April and May's payment on the vehicle while I was in the body shop.
How much?
$500.35 for each month.
I gave her that payment.
He paid February, Your Honor.
How many payments did you make?
My ex-husband made March, and I made April, May.
You made April and May?
Yes,
What
ma'am.
payment did you make?
The last payment was February, and I paid
She
her...
paid March and April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And May.
And I paid her for the pole that I hit, and I paid her all of the 2 deductibles for the insurance.
You paid that. Do you have checks for that?
No.
Did he pay you
I
for
do.
that?
I have my checks.
No, did
for
he
those.
pay you
No,
back
he
for
did
that?
not, Your Honor.
Maximum in your state is $3,000. Is that right?
ma'am.
Because this comes to $3,271. Mr. Gutierrez, either you're the luckiest or the unluckiest person on this planet. The luckiest person on the planet would find $300,000 in their car. That would be the luckiest person in the planet. The unluckiest person in the planet would have $300,000 in their car and not be able to get it. So if you think that I believe the story that you're telling me, I don't. Somebody did something nice for you. Somebody who has a career in law enforcement. Somebody who could be humiliated. If somebody was doing something naughty in this vehicle, like transporting drugs in the car, a car that she co-signed for. Now, I'm not suggesting that someone would be you, sir. I'm not suggesting that at all. The fact that I never found more than maybe 75 cents in a car that I've owned would not necessarily be dispositive in this case. But you cost her a bundle. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused when they step out.
I was on my way to El Paso, and the police stopped me,
Well, I kind of feel like I got some justice in this manner
and they found that money in there.
by getting my money back.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Capozola versus Courier. Step forward.
21-year-old Kristen Capozola is suing her former roommate, 22-year-old Joshua Courier, for rent, a broken computer, and the cost of pay-per-view adult movies.
You know, I decided that we could save the judicial system a whole bunch of money and just have much smaller apartments that were cheaper, that people could have themselves so they don't have to have roommates. And we would be able to save as a community fortunes of money because we wouldn't have all these cases. Then I would, however, be out of a job, and my children would be very unhappy. Ms. Capizzola, the defendant used to be your roommate. You claim he owes you some money. He owes you money for rent and utility bills, and he damaged your computer, and he downloaded porn on your computer, and it was very messy. Mr. Courier says, I'm cute. Aside from saying I'm cute, he says, well, he sort of ran into some difficulty, and he's going to explain it all to me. This is the girlfriend?
That's a friend.
This is the girlfriend that downloaded the porn on the computer?
Nah.
What do you do, Mr. Courier?
Cell phones.
Cell phones for whom?
T-Mobile.
How long have you been working for them?
Like 2 months.
How much do you make at T-Mobile?
It's hourly, like $8 or $9 an hour.
You take home a paycheck every couple of weeks. How much is your paycheck?
Roughly $8.50.
And who do you live with?
I live by myself.
What is this? I mean, is that a question or is that a statement?
I live by myself.
And how much rent do you pay?
It's $6.50.
You have a car?
No.
Have any other big expenses?
No.
Great. So you would say you're on your feet financially?
Yes.
Great. That's really good. Because one of the things that Ms. Capizzola says is that you told her you would pay her back for covering your rent when you got on your feet.
Yes.
She's got to back into it, that's all. You know, you can't get on there right in the front. Right in the front's boring. You got to back into it.
There you go.
Right?
That's right.
All right, Ms. Capizzola, when did you start to room with, and it was just a roommate, is that right?
Yes.
Just a roommate. The charming Mr. Courier.
October of 2006, he contacted me looking for a place to stay. I offered mine and my mother's home, with her permission, of course. We lived together there for approximately 3 weeks and then signed a lease in mid-November to move out.
How long had you known him?
About 3 years.
From where?
We met at a party.
You thought he was cute and nice?
Yeah.
He is, yeah. He's just a mooch. Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Yes, sir. Now, who rented the porn?
My ex-girlfriend.
And did she watch this all by herself?
Yes, I had no recollection that she was watching it.
Kristen Capizzola says ex-roommate Joshua Courier owes for rent, a broken computer, and for adult movies he ordered and never paid for. Joshua claims it was his ex-girlfriend who ordered the movies.
So, you moved into this place in
November.
Both of you signed the lease?
Yes, we did.
Now, he paid his rent for a while, and then according to him, he hit some hard times.
The rent was never paid to begin with. The first month we were there, he mysteriously lost a money order, and I was forced to pay the entire month of that rent.
How much was that?
That was $320. But the next 2 months went well. He did pay rent on time.
Great. Well, that's what he says pretty much. Until April of 2007.
Correct.
What happened in April 2007?
My check bounced. She called me and told me that it bounced when I was at work and that we need to figure out how we were going to pay it. And so showed up at the leasing office. We tried to figure it out. I don't know, like a week went by. She called me and told me...
Get over, please. You know I'm getting older by the second.
Okay, she...
Did she cover your rent?
In April?
Yeah.
No.
You paid it?
No.
Who paid it?
Nobody.
How could you not pay rent? Did you pay the rent?
Yes, I did.
Of course she did. You mean the landlord says you're such a nice guy, I'm going to let you just breeze over? No. How much rent did you cover for him?
For March and April, I covered $960. Total, I covered $1,600 and six.
Now, according to you, you don't really deny this. In your answer, you said, I always paid my rent until April when I was having money issues. Kristen told me not to worry. She told me just to get back on my feet.
Yes.
Well, you're back on your feet, right?
Yes.
So you got to pay her the rent.
I don't feel like I owe her the money because she told me not to worry about it. She said, sign yourself off the lease and then move out by the 1st. And I got the rest. And she was there.
1st of what?
The 1st of May.
1st of May?
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about March and April.
When I paid March rent, my check bounced. And April...
Well, I understand that.
And then April, I had like a couple days until rent was due, and that's when the check bounced. That's when she called me and said the check bounced.
We're talking about rent for half the month when you first moved in, when you didn't have it, and for 2 months.
Yeah.
March and April. And you moved out in May. Is that right?
Yes.
That's all I'm talking about. Do you have proof that you paid that rent?
No.
And are you back on your feet?
Yes.
Perfect. Cute, but no cigar. What else do you want from him?
I would like half of the Comcast bill that I paid for 5 months. The agreement was we wanted cable, we wanted internet, we wanted a phone, so...
You should have turned it off. You should have turned it off. If he wasn't paying it and he was not being terribly responsible with money, then you should have turned it off. You don't need cable.
Right.
I
would at least like to be reimbursed for the porn that was rented on our cable bill.
Yes, sir. Now, who rented the porn?
My ex-girlfriend.
And your ex-girlfriend was your visitor?
Yes.
And did she watch this all by herself?
Yes, I had no recollection that she was watching it.
Well, how do you know it was her?
She told me. But she told me she paid it, so I didn't.
How much was the porn?
$81.90.
$1,681. Your guest? Your worries. What else?
My computer that is no longer in commission. I had to purchase a new computer. My computer is basically totaled. My mom was there when it happened.
Well, what happened?
Him and one of his friends were downloading music, and the blue screen of death came on, and the computer never worked again.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now, did he have your permission to do that?
He had my permission to be on the computer, yes. But I had no idea that viruses were being downloaded. And the second it happened, he told me, and he's like, I'll help you pay for half of it.
What happened, sir?
Actually, the night, I guess it crashed, I wasn't even there. I came home like afterwards, and her mom and my friend was there, and they were watching TV. And they said the computer did not work. And I said, okay, what happened? And they said it just crashed. And I said, okay. And then she was like blaming my friend. And then I was like, that's not right. She downloaded music on it too, so it doesn't matter.
And that's why I was only suing for half.
Did you?
Yes.
Forget it. All right, you owe for the rent and you owe for your girlfriend's porn. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,681. Thank you.
Yeah, this is case number 310 on the calendar in the matter of Kahneman versus Rhodes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Ms. Kahneman, Mr. Rhodes was a boyfriend. You have a child together, and it is your claim that he owes you money from a lot of things, from a loan that you made to him some time ago for rent, and then for some car deal gone bad. Mr. Rhodes denies owing you any money, so let's go through the timeline.
Okay.
You and Mr. Rhodes were in a relationship in 2005 and 2006. Is that correct?
Yes, December of 05 through July of 06. We were boyfriend-girlfriend together.
And you have a daughter together. How old is that child?
We have a son.
Son.
I actually found out that I was pregnant 3 weeks after we broke up and he moved out of my home.
And how old is the child?
6 months.
When was the first amount of money that you claim Mr. Rhodes owes you? When was that debt initiated?
That was initiated in January of 07. I have the paperwork here from both the dealership that did the repairs along with where my credit card was charged.
Well, tell me about the loan.
I was about 6 months pregnant. He was to start a new job. And
were you living together or not?
No, we were not living together. We had broken up. But he was getting ready to start a new job, could not start the new job without a vehicle. So I agreed to...
So tell me what he said to you and what you said to him.
He asked me if I would help him to get the car repaired so he could have a job to support our family. And
is that what you did?
She actually offered it out.
Well, how did she know about it, Mr. Rhodes? How did she know that you needed someone to finance your car repairs?
Well, because we talk on a daily basis.
Okay. So she was pregnant.
And...
Just a second. She was pregnant at the time?
She was.
Was she working at the time?
She was.
And she was supporting herself at the time?
She was.
You weren't supporting her?
No.
So you called her and said...
Pretty much, my car's broke down.
So?
We discussed it, and she offered to help me out with it.
And?
And it got taken care of and paid for and done.
By whom?
By the dealership. She actually is the one that paid for it.
And?
That's about it.
What do you mean that's about it?
That's about it.
Well, it's your car. You have to pay for it.
Well, I understand.
So why didn't you do it?
Because I was financially unable to.
Why?
Because I was in between jobs.
Why?
Because door-to-door sales isn't easy.
Collect cans.
I've tried that. It didn't work out too well.
You tried collecting cans?
Yeah, it didn't work out too well.
I don't believe it. Don't be a smart mouth with me.
I'm not trying to be, Your Honor.
If you can't make a living as a door-to-door salesman, do something else.
That's what I did.
Good. What did you do?
I moved on to a different career.
What's your career?
I'm in furniture sales.
Commission or salary?
It's both. I'm guaranteed a certain amount per week, but if my commission outweighs that, I get my commission.
Who do you work for?
I work for Ashley.
And how long have you worked for them?
Since September 30th.
Who did you work for before that?
I work for Bright House Cable,
Doing what?
door-to-door cable sales.
How old are you?
29.
You're too old to be still finding yourself, Mr. Rhodes.
I understand.
Who do you live with?
I live with my girlfriend.
What does she do for a living?
She is a server.
A server. What does she serve?
She serves food.
You're his friend?
Yes, ma'am.
What?
Yes, ma'am.
Just in the event you wanted to stand up next to him, I just wanted to give you some taste of what would happen to you if I don't get an answer that sounds logical to me. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
May I say something, Judge?
No. How much were the car repairs?
They were $15.24 and 60 cents. Right here I have the
I'd like
credit
to
card.
see them, please.
The statement from...
You got a pregnant girlfriend who's working, who's not taking any money from you during her pregnancy, who's working to support herself, and you call her to ask her for money? Ridiculous. Where is this car that she repaired for you?
It's actually sold.
You sold it for what?
Because she wanted me to sell it for 2 years, and so finally got to a point where I sold it.
And what'd you do with the money?
Pretty much paid off the lien that took a loan out on the car. Then that was pretty much it. Took care of the whole car.
So how do you get to work now?
I purchased a new car. It's not exactly. It's not exactly new though.
Ugh. You must see something that I don't. All right. $1,524.60. What's next?
The rent.
Forget rent. He didn't pay you back the $1,524.60. Then you let him move in with the idea that he was going to pay you rent. You let him stay there 3 months. He didn't pay a penny. I read your claim.
Right, I was pregnant, and for the last month of my pregnancy, he moved in, said he was going to start making payments. He had a job when he moved in. Payments never came through, and I wanted him to be there for my family.
Then deal with it. Deal with the rent. If you act stupid once and lay out $1,500 for him when you're working, supporting yourself and supporting your unborn child, and then you let him move in, and if he doesn't pay you the first month, you kick him out. And if you let him stay the second and third month because you thought maybe it would work out with him, which I don't know why. What do you do
I
for
understand that.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an account executive. I'm in sales. The only reason I let him move back in, I was 6 months pregnant, or 9 months pregnant, actually. That's my last month. And I wanted to be there for the child. It's not the child's fault. So I let him move in so he could have his father, and unfortunately, he didn't pay me back, and that's why I'm here today. I believe no one
I've got the
lives free.
$1,520. Nobody lives free except you let him. What's next?
Next is when he agreed to pay me back. He had a $5,000 check for the sale of the car that I had did the repairs. And
okay, stop there. He sold the car, and the car that he just described to me that he sold and paid off the liens was the car that we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, now tell me the story.
He came to me with a $5,000 cashier's check. We talked about it and discussed it. He did not have a checking account to cash the check because he's on different bad things with his bank account, so he didn't have an account to do that in. So I agreed because I verified with my bank that it was a legitimate check. He signed it over to me. I put it in my account. I took funds out that was agreed upon ahead of time.
Which funds?
Funds from my bank account. I have receipts here
No, I
totaling
understand you
$1,200.
took out funds, $1,200, from the $5,000.
Correct.
What did you do with the $1,200?
I gave it to Mr. Rhodes.
For what?
To buy another vehicle and pay off his back taxes.
All I want to know is, you gave him the $1,200.
Correct.
When did you give him the $1,200?
On August the 10th. I have the receipts here to show that it was taken out of my bank account on August the 10th.
And according to what I read, the purchaser reneged on the deal and canceled the check.
Right.
How could they cancel a cashier's check?
I didn't know that was possible either.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Why an intelligent, lovely-looking woman like you would choose somebody like him to father a child. You know, if you're picking DNA, at least pick DNA that's reasonable. You know, you'd be better off at a sperm bank.
And later today.
How old are you?
27.
Oh, what? You didn't have children, do you?
No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paula Kahneman claims ex-boyfriend Andrew Rhodes owes for rent, a loan to get his car fixed, and money owed on a botched car sale.
Okay, Mr. Rhodes, what happened?
Okay, put the car on eBay.
Don't go back to the year of the flood, sir.
No.
What happened with the $1,200?
The $1,200 was going to be my money, and she offered to go ahead and pull it out because I found a car that I wanted to buy, and it was an $800 car. She offered to go ahead and put it out there so I could purchase the car, have transportation to get to and from work.
So what happened?
For some reason, the eBay check got canceled for some odd reason. I have no idea why.
I understand that, but she got stuck with $1,200. Why didn't you give her back the $1,200 when you sold the car?
The car was already sold.
What do you mean the car was already sold?
The car was sold.
Am I not following you, sir? You sold the car. Let's say you sold the car on August 1st. She cashed the check for you by putting the money in her bank and giving you $1,200 to buy a new car, figuring that the rest of the money would be hers for whatever expenses and money that you allegedly owed her. She gave you $1,200.
Never once asked for it, though.
Just listen to me. She gave you the $1,200. Then the check bounced. On September 1st, you sold the car to somebody else.
Sold to the same buyer.
And he gave you another check.
No, they sent that directly to the bank that had the lien.
For how much was the lien?
$3,800.
Well, if it was $3,800, you had enough money to pay her back the $1,200.
I also had to purchase this car at the same
Who cares?
I never once asked for it. She offered it out. I took it.
Mr. Rhodes, listen to me. Why an intelligent, lovely-looking woman like you would choose somebody like him to father a child?
Looks can be deceiving.
I have absolutely no idea. I know looks could be deceiving. You know, if you're picking DNA, at least pick DNA that's reasonable. You know, you want a baby, that's a nice thing. You know, you'd be better off at a sperm bank. You owe her $2,724. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's a little bit off the rocker a tad bit, and we just didn't get along.
He's the father of my child, and it's too bad that he's a tax evader and a deadbeat dad and won't take care of his son.
Gonna do the best we can to raise this kid together.
Hopefully he'll become a father and quit being a deadbeat dad.
Won't let me see him, you know, when I want to see him.
He says that because he's not paying child support, and it's the only thing he has against me, and he tries to use that, but it's a complete lie.
She held him away from me for 2 months, and that's the bottom line.
He knows that he could have picked him up at any point in time.
She's been down this road before. I don't think I'm the first one. I don't think I'll be the last.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Champagne versus Walbert. Step forward.
24-year-old Nicole Champagne is suing her ex-boyfriend, 27-year-old David Walbert, for loans to pay rent and to register his car. Nicole also says David owes for his share of a trip to Maryland.
Ms. Champagne, the defendant was your boyfriend.
Yes, for a little while.
Well, long enough for you to have, according to you, loaned him
Quite a
whole
bit
bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
And according to you, he also owes you for trip expenses that you took with him.
Mm-hmm.
It says he owes you nothing. There was never an agreement to pay you back any money, that it only became an issue after the two of you broke up, and that as far as this trip is concerned, he paid for the plane ticket and any extra expenses you incurred with things that you wanted to do. So, how short a period of time was he your boyfriend?
About 9 months.
From when to when?
January 7th till sometime last month.
And when was this first alleged loan?
The first loan began in about July, early July, for his rent that he was unable to pay again.
Well, tell me about the discussion that you had with him.
Well, he had been fired from a job, so he was very short on cash, and he asked me to loan him about $450, and I agreed foolishly.
Where were you living at the time?
With my mom, at home.
And how often did you spend at Mr. Walbert's apartment?
I was there quite often.
How often?
Every night.
Mm-hmm. So he said to you, listen, the rent's due, I don't have a job, would you pay for the rent this month?
No, it was specifically a loan.
Tell me what he said to you.
He said, will you lend me the money that I need?
Is that right, Mr. Walbert?
No.
Let me hear.
I asked her if she could help me with the rent that month.
And what'd she say?
Of course.
How long had she been living with you?
Since January.
Excuse me, does it count as living with him when... I mean, I didn't technically live with him. I wasn't on the lease. I didn't owe rent.
You don't have to be on the lease.
Okay.
So when she was there in January, you paid the rent?
Mm-hmm.
February?
Yes.
March?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
June?
Yes.
Just July. You said, can you help me out with the rent?
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
That's
what was she
incorrect.
doing at the time?
I'm sorry. I want to interrupt because that's
Good.
incorrect.
That's correct. What kind of work were you doing?
I wait tables.
And she?
Waits tables as well.
What else do you want to be when you grow up?
Going to school, I want to be a teacher.
Teach what?
I want to teach music.
Are you a musician?
I wouldn't call myself a musician, but I play a little bit.
What do you play?
Guitar.
And you want to be a music teacher?
Mm-hmm.
Don't music teachers usually have to play an instrument?
Well, it helps.
What's next?
I loaned him quite a bit of money for his car. He was not driving legally. He didn't have registration. He had an unpaid registration ticket, and he didn't have car insurance. So in order to not have to drive him to work myself daily, I loaned him the money to pay for all those things, which amounted to about $1,300.
When?
On July 23rd, I loaned him about $300 to renew his registration. Right before that, I paid his registration ticket July 18th. It's about $700. And also July 23rd, I paid his insurance, which was about $240.
And what did he say to you?
He said that he would pay me back the money and the interest, because I had to put it all on my credit card. I didn't have that kind of money. And he said he would not only pay me back all those things, but also the interest.
What were you doing with all the money you were making as a waitress?
Food, gas. I only work part-time.
You work full-time?
Yes, Your Honor.
What about these expenses for your car?
The car, she told me that she would take care of it because she didn't want to drive me back and forth to work and school. And it was like when I signed up for school, she said that she would take care of the car thing so I could get myself back
when
and
I
forth.
signed you up for school?
No.
Sorry. A little.
Why didn't you take care of it?
I'm not real sure. I mean, I didn't have the money or the time to take care of it.
Were you going to school full-time or part-time?
I'm going full-time now, but I wasn't going to school at that time.
So what were you doing with all your time, sir? What do you mean you didn't have time to take care of it in July?
I didn't have time. I was working all the time.
What were you doing?
Working.
Working where?
Waiting tables.
At which restaurant?
Well, then it was working at Zen Bistro that I got fired from, and then I moved to Riviera.
Are they open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Brunch, lunch, and dinner.
Right. And then you got fired from there for what?
Having a dirty shirt and talking back.
Well, leave that. And then you went to work at what restaurant?
Riviera.
What is that?
It's an Italian restaurant in the Valley.
So they're not open for breakfast, are they?
No.
Just lunch and dinner?
Lunch and dinner.
Okay, so you had all morning
Yes.
to take care of your business.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so there was no reason why you couldn't pay your own car stuff, right? And when did you terminate this love affair?
About 3.5, 4 weeks ago.
Now, when you went on this trip, where did you go?
Maryland.
When you went to Maryland, you went there for a purpose. What was the purpose?
To visit with his family.
How did you get there?
We flew.
Who paid for the tickets?
We each paid for our own tickets. Actually, I don't think he even had the money to pay for his own. I think his brother may have paid for his.
I don't think you paid for your ticket either.
No, I paid for mine. His brother initially bought it for me, but then I paid him back while we were on the trip.
Why did you go back to Maryland to visit with your parents?
So it had been a while since I'd been at home, and I hadn't seen my dad since I moved away, and I was missing my mom. Just wanted to be around family for a little bit.
It was for him, but I sponsored the trip.
How did you sponsor the trip?
Through my credit card. He agreed to pay me back for half of the expenses, but we
No
used,
way.
We used
No
my
way
credit.
he didn't, madam. You want to know why no way? Because so far, you covered his rent for $450. You gave him $1,240 to fix his car. You said that he couldn't even afford to pay his own plane ticket, so he took the money from his brother. That's what you just interrupted. When you interrupted and spoke out, that's what you said, right? So that you could have had no legitimate expectation that he was going to pay you back for diddly.
I had his word.
You didn't have to go. I believe you when you say, can you help me out with the rent this month, that you said it just that way because you had been paying the rent since January. Then you were out of a job for a while, ran a little short, so she paid for the rent 1 month, and then I assume you paid again in August. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Pardon me?
What?
I had loaned him money for rent previously, and he had paid that back.
He's not paying you back this time, madam.
But it was
you can't
a loan.
you can't. Oh, stop it. You can't live rent-free all the time. You know, you're cute. He may think you're cute. Truth of the matter is, you're a cute little girl. I don't think you're adorable. You know, he may think you're adorable. But you got to pay your own way. Got to pay your own way. Be a big girl. But you can't take advantage of her. Can I see the payment on your credit card for the cars? Freeway insurance. Is that for you?
Yes.
How do I know this $311, which you took out as a cash payment, was for his expense?
It was a debit. It wasn't cash. It was my debit card was ran at the DMV.
I got it.
Okay.
Now I see it. And then the court's $705, right?
Right.
$1,240. That's your problem, sir. Those are your tickets, right?
Yes.
What kind of tickets did you get?
It was a registration ticket, and I just hadn't paid it, and it just doubled and doubled, so like quadrupled.
How old are you?
27.
Grow up. Grow up. You don't have children, do you?
No.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,240. Thank you.
Case number 301 on the calendar, the matter of Schultz versus Loeffler.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Schultz, you and your wife were at a party some sort of a gathering with the defendant and his wife.
Right, and another couple also.
And it is your claim, at some point during the evening, the defendant assaulted you and cracked your tooth. You want to be compensated. You want your dental bills paid. Mr. Loeffler says that you were actually the aggressor. He acted in self-defense. Tell me when this party was.
It was March 18th, 07.
And where was the party?
Me and my wife Ashley were invited to go out to eat with his witness Stephen over there and his wife to go out to eat to dinner.
The six of you?
No, originally it was only the four. It was me, Ashley, and Stephen and his wife.
And your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? Who were friends? Who knew each other?
Ashley knows his wife from school.
Okay, great.
So they invited us to go out to dinner. We met at their house. We went from their house to Portugal in Long Beach. While we were there for a while, Travis and his wife met us there.
And had you known Travis before?
No, I haven't.
You never met him?
I met him maybe one other time.
Okay.
At a
But you weren't
barbecue.
friends?
No, we're not friends.
Had it been prearranged that you were going to meet for dinner, or was it just by accident that
Yeah,
you met?
just called up and...
Who called you?
I called Stephen and his wife on that day, and we were free and we wanted to hook up and see each other and hang out.
So that he invited you to come along. Then there were six of you having dinner.
There were six.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, we had dinner. A few people had something to drink. I had a drink. Travis had more than a few drinks. We hung out, ate dinner. We went on a boat ride in Portugal toward the Long Beach port. After that, we decided to head back to Stephen and Rosalie's house.
That would be your house?
Yes, ma'am.
So me and Ashley got in our car, and we proceeded there. We got there, and when we got there, Rosalie had shown up without Stephen. So I decided that I would get...
Well, your wife came without you?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you?
I was still down at Portugal.
Doing what? Stand up. Stand up, and before you answer my questions, take your hands out of your pockets. I want to explain to you that if you give me the honest answer the first time, we won't have to embarrass you. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you stay in ports of call?
Me and my wife had gotten in a bickerment, and she went ahead and went on.
An argument.
An argument. And she went ahead and drove on while I walked, and we cooled things down, and I ended up just walking home.
So you were not there, just your wife, correct?
At that moment, yeah.
Now you can sit down. If I need you again, I will holler.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he wasn't there, so I decided to get into my car and go pick him up because he didn't have a ride. Okay, I drove to Portugal. I couldn't find him. On my way back from Portugal, I got pulled over for illegal window tint, got a ticket, so it took me a little bit to get back. When I arrived back at Stephen's house, he was there. Upon that, Stephen and Rosalie were arguing. We were all inside the
That's
house.
Stephen, so Stephen and Rosalie are arguing.
They were arguing, right.
Raise
And
your
then-
hand, Stephen, so that everybody knows who we're talking about. I didn't say which hand. You could raise both hands. Perfect. Stephen was fighting with Rosalie.
Rosalie, right, correct. We were all in the house at that time. Travis and Rosalie began to argue.
Travis,
Travis, and,
that would be you, and his wife
correct.
started to argue.
They had words across, and I don't know exactly what it's about, but they were arguing amongst each other. Rosalie had asked Travis to please get out of the house, because it was her house, and she'll do what she wants, you know. And so me, Stephen, Travis, Shay had all gone outside at this point.
You, Stephen,
Travis, and Shay, Travis's wife.
that would be you.
We had all gone outside at this point, because Rosalie was mad, yelling.
That everybody should get out.
Everyone should get out.
Of
right.
her house.
Out of her house, correct. So we went outside. Travis and Rosalie were having words across from each other. Stephen was trying to calm Travis down.
Steve, why were you involved in their business? Why were you involved in their business? Don't
Rosalie had started arguing with me, trying to get me and his wife involved with their business.
Didn't she tell you to leave?
She did after there was already words.
Well, I understand that, but
ensued.
after there was words, she
Then
told you to leave.
She told us to leave. We started leaving, and we had actually got out past the front gate before they had got out of that house.
Fine, go ahead.
Okay, we ended up out front. Stephen was trying to calm Travis down because they were arguing, and they started to get a little loud. So I tried to intervene and tell Stephen and Travis, you know, we calm down. We're yelling. We're outside. It's 10 o'clock at night or whatever time it was, and I couldn't get any.
You weren't involved in the argument.
I wasn't involved in the argument. I couldn't get a word in across trying to calm both of them down because they were yelling at each other. So I gave up and I started to head towards my car, which happened to be in between Stephen and Travis. And as I walked through, he struck me right here on the back side of my jaw. And I asked him why he hit me, and he didn't have a reason. He said I came at him.
Go ahead, now I'm listening.
Okay, so they were getting in the argument. My wife said, okay, it's time, let's go. So we start walking out the front door. We get to the gate. We start walking towards our car. I forget we had brought food over. So I turned around to take it back.
Why?
To get it and take it home with us because we hadn't eaten dinner.
I thought you had dinner at the
No,
restaurant.
we ate. That was earlier in the day. That was around 1 or 2.
Well, so you mean that you weren't out for dinner, you were out for lunch.
Yeah.
And then you took a boat ride.
Right.
And then you were fighting and everything, and then you forgot your food inside.
Right.
Go ahead.
So I turn around to go back for the food, and as I'm going back, I see him pushing his wife out the front door, down the steps, onto the ground. And I say, "Hey, what are you doing?" At that point, he turns towards me and starts yelling at me and obscenities, and I don't got a problem, just don't do that, you know? Don't push your wife down on the ground. And at that point, he's about 5 feet from me, still yelling in my face.
And where's his wife?
His wife is back at the front porch where he left her after pushing her down.
You mean he pushed her down and she fell on the ground?
She fell on the ground.
Go ahead.
Repeatedly. My wife was standing behind me when he was standing in front of me. At that point, he comes at me like this. I took it as a threat, and that's when I swung on him.
That's when you clocked him.
When I clocked him.
Okay. Stand up. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, don't look down. Look at me.
Yes.
I have a few questions, Ms. Schultz. How long have you and the plaintiff been married?
2 years.
You have children?
No, we do not.
You live alone with him?
No, we live with my grandmother.
How long have you lived with your grandmother?
I lived with her about approximately 2.5 years, and he moved in 2 years ago.
Why did you move in with your grandmother?
To go to school.
Have the police ever been called to your house?
No, they have not.
Police ever been called to your school?
No, they have not.
Did you ever make a complaint with the police regarding domestic violence?
No, I have not.
Tell me what happened on the 18th of March.
Well, Rosalie and Stephen were arguing, and then Rosalie and Travis began to argue. I don't know what about, and she told everyone to get out. I actually stayed in the home with Rosalie to calm her down and put her kids to sleep. At that point, I don't know what happened exactly. I was not witness to Travis hitting Josh or any of the argument outside.
You remained in the house?
Yes.
You did not go outside?
I did not, no.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Hey, we don't argue with me. Nobody argues with me. Sometimes I let Bird argue with me. Certainly not you.
And later today,
when I found out that it was running well, I know these Jeeps go for $2,000.
How come it was running well? What do you think? You think that the Jeep Fairy came down and fixed it?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joshua Schultz claims Travis Loeffler sucker punched him during a night of drinking. Travis says Joshua was the aggressor.
After your husband was punched, did you leave with
Yes.
him? Tell me how that came about that you left with him.
I was on the back patio having a cigarette, and he came up behind the back and told me, Travis just hit me, we need to leave.
Where was Rosalie?
Rosalie, I believe, was still with me having a cigarette.
Where's your wife now?
She's at work.
At work where?
Animal control and care in Castaic.
What's her phone number?
310. 4.
Is that her cell phone or her office phone?
Her cell phone.
Is this Rosalie Doyle? Rosalie Doyle, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? Very well, thank you. I have a couple of questions to ask you. I'm sure that you know that your husband is here with regard to a case that happened back in March. Okay. And I have a couple of questions to ask you on some information that I need some assistance on, some clearing up, okay? After you spent the afternoon and the evening, you took a boat ride, you and your husband had an argument, is that right? And you left him at the location where you had been drinking, whatever. Okay. Can you tell me what the argument was about, Rosalie? Mm-hmm. Mrs. Schultz, who was also there that evening, she was at your house. Do you smoke? Yes. And so does Mrs. Schultz. Is that right? She stayed in the house after other people got into an argument. She stayed with you. Is that right? Okay. And then you went outside with her and were having a cigarette? Go, relax. And it was at that point that her husband came around and told you that he wanted to leave, that he had been struck? Okay. Rosalie, you are a doll. Thanks a million. Thank you, too. Bye-bye. Liar, liar, pants on fire. You too.
Not me.
Oh, you too, because I
Not
just
even.
spoke to Rosalie. And Rosalie tells me the following story. The reason you had an argument with your wife, sir, is because you were acting like a fool around people who had children. And you were on a couple of rides and your pants had fallen down so that your behind was exposed. And your wife said to you, pick up, does that sound familiar to you? Your wife said to you, pick up your pants, you're not supposed to walk around in front of children with your butt exposed. And then you called her a name. That's when she left you in the parking lot so that you could cool off. There is no question that Rosalie said to me that Mrs. Schultz was in the house with her, helping to put the kids down to bed. They had put the children down to bed. They were both on the back porch having a cigarette because both of them smoke. And she said that's when her husband came in and said, I'm getting out of here because I'm not going back to prison for anybody.
Right.
And that is when they left and you rushed them, according to Rosalie. So, what were your dental bills, sir?
Let me get it for you, Judge.
You know, the only sober witness here was
Hey,
her.
listen to me. You think I'm going to ask her any questions? All I had to
No, 'cause
find
they were
out
all
was
drunk.
whether he was telling me a lie, and if he was telling me
he
a
was not
lie,
there during the
and if he
incident.
was telling me a lie, then so were you.
Obviously.
Absolutely, because you brought him.
Obviously. I didn't bring
Absolutely.
him.
He's
You
not
guys
sitting
called
over there.
him.
Hey, we don't argue with me. Nobody argues with me. Sometimes I let Bird argue with me. Certainly not you.
That's okay.
1,400 and how much?
9603.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He comes rushing me like this. That's it.
Oh, I'm not the type to just get hit like that.
I told him to stop pushing his wife around.
But I have a record, and I was on parole at the time, and I would have went to prison.
And he turned his aggression toward me.
If I would have assaulted him.
And that's what happened.
Don't hang out with drunken idiots.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Butler versus Spear. Step forward.
Pamela Butler is suing the father of her child, Stephen Pat Spear, for money owed on a Jeep that she sold him. Pat says the vehicle turned out to be a piece of junk.
Where do you live, Miss Butler?
Hartford, North Carolina.
And where do you live, Mr. Spear?
Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Do you really love each other?
No.
No.
Huh?
No.
No.
Do you really have a need to see each other?
Yes, I have his son.
Not
Same,
just
yeah.
the son, but you really have a need to see each other? I ask you that question because this case, to me, is such nonsense that other than the fact that you really wanted to see each other, you would not have traveled from North Carolina and you from Virginia, other than the fact that you really have a burning desire to spend a little time together.
We haven't seen each other since
Well,
we were here.
maybe that's the reason. Because this is what this ridiculousness is about. Ridiculous to me, maybe not to you, but certainly to me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Please try not to talk over me because,
yes,
you know,
ma'am.
I really control the audio here.
I understand that.
Do you understand that?
Oh, yeah.
So try not to talk over me. It's
Yes,
just irritating.
His life story is both amazing and inspirational. From a childhood marked by poverty, violence, and abuse, he has shown the world these issues do not have to define who you are. As a successful broker, he has dedicated his life to helping those less fortunate. Join Global Maritimes as Chris Gardner brings his message of hope to the Black Business Summit.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Pamela Butler claims the father of her child, Stephen Pat Spear, owes for a Jeep she sold him. Pat says the vehicle kept breaking down, so he's not paying.
You have a child together. And a while ago, you had an old car that you were going to have towed away as junk, according to you. Mr. Spear was talking to you on the phone, and he said, you know what? Instead of towing it away as junk, I'll take it. You know, I could use it.
Well, she offered it.
Or she offered it, whatever. And according to you, you said, fine, I'll sell it to you for $450. He came and he took the car. He didn't pay you. So you're suing him for $450 that you said you agreed to sell him this piece of junk because you were just going to junk it. You were going to tow it. That's according to you. I read this very
Okay.
carefully. Okay? Now, Mr. Spear says that when you discuss this whole car nonsense, he said, I don't feel comfortable about taking this car from you for nothing. I'll give you $300 for it, which suggests to me that you really still carry a torch for her. Because another normal person would say, well, if you're going to give it away for nothing and you're going to junk it, I'll come and take it off your hands. You won't have to pay for towing. That sound right to you?
Sounds absolutely right.
Instead, this is the only non-custodial parent that I know who says, let me give you more money. I don't know many of those people. In any event, he didn't give you the $450 and he didn't give you the $300. He says he didn't give you the $300 because he put more money into the car than $300. So it's worth only what he put into it, and he's not giving you any money. That's your defense.
Essentially, yeah.
What do you want me to do? Explain to me what you want me to do.
When I offered it to him for free, it was just in passing because I was selling it, and the man that looked at it, it wasn't running that well, and so he said no, he didn't want it. So I went out and looked at it, and it was a vacuum hose that was leaking, not the head what me and the neighbor kind of thought. So when I replaced the vacuum hose, it ran fine.
You told me in your complaint you were going to have it towed.
Okay.
In November 2006, I called Pat and told him that I was thinking of getting my 1995 Jeep towed away because it was of no use to me.
Okay.
That's what you wrote.
That's when I thought the head was cracked.
That's not what it says here.
Okay.
So, suggest to me that you two people really wanted to have a dinner together.
No, we're not even going to see each other while we're here.
No.
All right, so how much do you want to pay for the car, sir?
Well, I put so much into it.
I don't care whether you put so much into it. That's your problem. Did you tell her that you would give her
$300, but, you know,
You
when she
offered her
upped
$300, and did you give her the $300?
No, I didn't.
Well, you have to.
No, I didn't. I mean, she upped it when
Your
I
Honor,
was
I
on the
upped
middle of
it.
the road, and like, you know, I had no choice to offer, to say, okay, I'll pay the $500. But I said, as
What
long as it
500?
doesn't
We're
break
not even
down.
talking about 500.
Well,
She said
450, the 450. And I said,
You know,
but
you're
if,
looking
as
at
long
me,
as it
you're
doesn't
making it
break
up as you're
down.
going along.
No,
No,
he
ma'am.
bought a battery for it, and I took off the price
Oh,
for the battery. Your Honor, when I found out that it was running well, I know these Jeeps go for $2,000. I brought proof of it.
I don't care. How come it was running well? What do you think? You think that the Jeep Fairy came down and fixed it?
I think I fixed it with the vacuum hose.
Then you should have sold it to somebody for $2,000.
Well, I wanted to help him. He didn't have a car at the time, and I wanted to help him because he is the father of my son. And I wanted him to have transportation to come pick up his son halfway. I wanted him to keep his job so he can pay child support.
So?
So?
Well, then I ended up essentially losing my job because it broke down on me so often, and I had to call into work so many times. And
Why didn't you sue her? Why didn't you counterclaim, sir? Should have counterclaimed.
Because he's the mother of my child. I don't want to cause more trouble for her.
Mr.
I wish I
Spear,
took it for free in the first place.
Please try not to talk over me because,
yes,
you know,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
you know, I really control the audio here.
I understand that.
Do you understand that?
Oh, yeah.
So try not to talk over me. It's
Yes,
just irritating. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you in a family dispute? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now, I was being facetious when I said, why don't you sue her for losing your job because your car didn't run well? How old are you?
40.
You should have a car that runs well.
Yes, ma'am.
You should, at the age of 40, have finally figured out what you're going to do with your life so that you can have a car that runs. Sir, that's not her fault.
Well,
so if
I
you keep
stopped
losing your
doing-
job because you don't have a car that works, that is your fault. It's not Bird's fault. It's not my fault. It's not her fault. It's not these good people's faults.
He thinks it's
your
my fault.
Okay. So how much did you agree ultimately to pay her for the car, Mr. Spear?
Well,
Look at me. over
ultimately,
here.
500, and then, like she said, she took the 50 off for the battery.
Good. So
It was
that's what
buried
you're
to
going to pay her.
450.
Thank you very much. You make my life easy. Go out and have a nice dinner. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $450. That's all.
That's case number 304 on the calendar in the matter of Irani versus Ottenstreier. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Irani, you had a condo that you were renting.
Yes.
And you rented that condo to Mr. Ottenstreier's daughter, who is under 21, and he co-signed the lease for her. Is that right?
Correct.
Do you live in the same town?
Yes.
Why wasn't your daughter living home?
She just moved out.
That's not an answer. I know she moved out. That's something that's clear to me, Mr. Ottenstreier.
Just to be on her own. She had her job,
Mhm.
and she was working, and she wanted to have a place of her own.
And you thought that that was a good idea?
Yes.
And you trusted her?
Right.
So you trusted her to act as a responsible adult?
Right.
Clearly, she did not do that.
Correct.
Because what happened was she violated the rules of the condo. She had a pet, which she wasn't allowed to do. Correct?
Yes.
She threw noisy parties, and there were complaints on at least 4 occasions. And ultimately, they were either going to terminate her proprietary lease on the condo, unless she got rid of your daughter, but you moved out. Yes. Your father gave her an extra month's rent and said goodbye. Unfortunately, because of your actions, Miss Irani was charged money for violating the noise ordinances of the condo. She tried to fight them. Your tenancy ended up costing her how much?
Okay, I paid $942.50 for my attorney, and then there is a paper for all the details of all the charges, which
I'd like to
is
see it.
$4,921.
Okay, so that's what Miss Irani had to pay as a result of dog fines, police being called to the house for loud noises and parties, because you, Mr. Ottenstreier, had full confidence in your daughter's ability to live on her own, act responsibly, and you were wrong. Your defense is, that wasn't in my contract.
Correct.
Convince me better, sir.
Well, in the contract itself, there is no statement of the $400 fine for police calls. There is a part that says about noise, that type of thing. That's not specified in there.
What does it say about noise, that you're not allowed to make noise?
Well, it says be quiet in the hall and this type of thing, keep your stereos down. And then it says see attachment. There's no attachment.
Did you ask about the attachment?
No.
What do you do for a living?
Optometrist.
Do you have your own business?
Yes.
Do you rent space, or do you own the building where you have your...
Now we rent.
When you signed a lease, did you have a lawyer?
Yes.
So you do know about lawyers.
Yes.
And if something says see attachment and there's no attachment, what do you do?
Well, to me, it's void. I mean, if it's not in there.
I didn't
it's
ask
not
you
signed.
what it means.
Oh.
I said, what do you do when it says see attached? You say, where is the attachment?
I looked for attachment, didn't see it.
So why didn't you call her?
I assumed that she wasn't concerned about it, I guess. She
I'm
didn't put it in the
concerned
contract.
about it.
Yeah.
What's next, Mr. Ottenstreier?
Well, the next thing is that we renewed the lease. At the renewal of the lease, she never said anything about us owing money, and there were 3 police calls before
When
that.
did you renew the lease?
On 6/20/06, a year after, and there were 3 police calls before that.
Let me ask you a question. Had you been contacted about those 3 police calls?
I still have never received a bill.
Did your daughter tell you that there were 3 police calls?
She called me each time after the police were called.
That's not my question. I said, did your daughter tell you about the 3 police calls?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
Told me that she had a party and that there were police calls. The police were calling, they ticketed her.
What did you say to her?
Don't have any more parties. Quit having the parties.
Just a second. Did you say to her after the first time, don't have any more parties?
Sure.
Did you say it to her after the second time?
Sure.
Did you say it to her after the third time?
Yes.
And when you renewed the lease, did you co-sign the lease despite the fact that she had disobeyed your instructions?
Yes.
Now it would seem to me, Mr. Ottenstreier, that you would not be as trusting and as confident in your daughter to do the right thing. So why would you co-sign the lease for her?
Well, there have been 6 months went by with no police calls, and you hope your child is going to take the right road. They make mistakes, but you keep hoping they're going to make the right choice.
And what about the dog, sir?
The dog was there temporarily as a friend's dog that stayed there. She didn't have it as a pet.
The dog was there about 3 weeks, not even.
Temporarily is not 3 weeks. Temporarily is when somebody comes over to visit you and they bring their dog. Why should she be out all this money? If I have to make a judgment as to who's got to be out this $5,000, who do you think it's going to be? The person who made the noise or the person who had to pay the fines?
Well, we do have papers that say that she's responsible for, well...
For any fines that are charged to the tenants that she's responsible for.
Of course, as between she and the condo association, she's responsible.
So that's
I'm speaking. The condo association doesn't want to have to go looking for you. I mean, I can't believe that you actually are a professional man. The condo says, as between you, owner, and the board, you, owner, are responsible for the fines. That doesn't prevent her from going after you because you're the one that made the noise. You're the one that brought the dogs in. Something that you knew. You knew it when you signed the lease the second time. You knew she had violated the rules. Could have said to her at that time, listen, you violated my trust. You come home. Come home. I'm not co-signing for you. You didn't listen to me the first time. You didn't listen to me the second time. Unless you didn't want her home, sir, because she created too much trouble at home, which is another problem.
Doesn't Gidi, when she renews the lease, didn't she take any responsibility? Should have told us at that time that there were fines at that point?
They probably didn't come after her for those fines until after she left.
Yes, they did.
Before she renewed the lease?
Yes.
When did you renew the lease, sir?
6/20/06.
Actually, it's July 2007.
And when were you first notified of any fine? Because clearly, if you were notified of fines before you renewed the lease, I am not considering any fines before you renewed the lease. Afterwards, maybe. But then you're on notice.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your Honor, I have her email, what she told me. She
I don't
said
care
that
what she told you. I don't care if she told you that the sky was green. Listen to me very carefully.
I believed her.
I don't care whether you believed her.
And later today,
this is all getting too unseemly for me. Mr. Lanza, you've had possibly 2 out-of-wedlock children. That's enough.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gidi Irani claims former tenant Holly Ottenstreier threw wild parties in her rental condo. She is suing for association fines and legal fees.
Okay, now when were you notified of the fines?
Actually, after she had the police call, they sent me a letter and I discussed it with her. I said, there is fine, you cannot go on living like this.
When did you have this conversation with her? Before?
After the first call, after the first police call.
Well, the first police call was in 2005.
Yes.
When were you notified by the condo association of the fines, is my question.
Maybe in a month or so.
Month after 2005?
Yes.
Well, then you should not have renewed her lease.
Your Honor, she was telling me that the neighbors are bothering her. The property manager who was telling me that she had loud noise, he was fired, and I did not have the police reports. As soon as I had the police report, I talked to her father.
Ms. Irani, how much were you renting the apartment to her for?
$550 and then $640 later on because she asked for the carpet to be changed.
All of these things were done prior to you executing a new lease. You said July of 2006 is when you entered into a new lease. And there was nothing after that.
Because she was out in September.
No, listen to me very carefully. You have a police call August of 05, another one August of 05. There are dog fines in October of 05. There's another dog fine in November of 05. I don't know what this means, non-eviction. What does that mean?
Because they were asking me to ask her to leave, and she was saying that they are so unfair to her.
Oh, no. That's your problem, Miss Irani. I'm sorry, I was very heavy on them, and rightly so. But you're a grown-up. You should not have renewed their lease.
Your Honor, I have 2 teenagers that I fully trust. I believed her, and that I did not believe the property manager.
I would have brought eviction proceedings against her immediately. Immediately. They asked you to evict her in October of 2005.
But Your
and
Honor,
instead of evicting her, you renewed a lease in July.
Your Honor, I have her email, what she told me. She
I don't
said
care
that
what she told you. I don't care if she told you that the sky was green. Listen to me very carefully.
I believed her.
I don't care whether you believed her. It's not relevant to me. It's not relevant whether you believed her. You were told by your condo association to evict her in 2005. Instead of evicting her, what you did was you renewed her lease in 2006.
But, Your Honor, they never provided any evidence, anything.
They don't have to provide you with evidence, madam.
I asked for.
They don't have to provide you with evidence. She's not going to pay you because it was your responsibility to evict her, not to sign on a new lease. There are other people that live there. They were forced to live with her, making a lot of noise and having loud parties, having a dog when they weren't supposed to. They asked you to evict her. You're the owner of the condo, and you said, no, I'm not going to do it.
Your Honor, I called her parents and I told her mother about the dog. And she said she's just doing it for 1 weekend and it's going to be gone. She told me that the police came because there was an ambulance. She was not feeling good. She was not doing that.
Listen, they came 5 times. She was a very sick girl. It's your problem and it's your fault. You should never, never have renewed the lease with them. Never.
Your Honor, I received the police report in August and I talked to her parents right away after I saw the police report. I made an appointment with them. I saw them and I said, this is how
You should have evicted her. And you didn't. You should have evicted her.
Because I believed her.
Well, that's your problem, madam. I believe that you believed her. I believe that you also like the rent. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't think that she was lying, but I guess I learned my lesson.
I feel sorry for Gidi because she did trust my daughter.
She had underage drinking. She had marijuana in the home.
One of my friends was caught with marijuana in my apartment, and I should have known that he had it, but I didn't.
I trusted her.
One of the tickets was for me and two friends that were sitting on the couch talking, and the police gave me a ticket for that.
I'll be more careful with younger people.
You got to go out in the world sometime. They don't always make the right choices, but you trust them and you hope eventually they're going to come around. She has.
I don't party anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Benavente versus Lanza, step forward, please.
21-year-old Monique Benavente is suing the father of her child, 24-year-old Carlos Lanza, for 2 truck payments. Carlos says Monique offered to help him out.
How old are you, Miss Benavente?
21.
How old are you, Mr. Lanza?
24.
2 of you have a child together.
Correct.
How old is that child?
5 months, 2 weeks.
Is that your only child?
Yes, ma'am.
What about you, Mr. Lanza?
Yes.
Your only child?
Excuse me?
What?
He told me he had another son.
You have another child?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever tell he had another child?
I did.
Why?
I thought I had a child with the girl. That pregnancy test never came back and said it was mine. So it wasn't, shouldn't have told her something like that because it wasn't relevant.
That's not what he told me.
This is all getting too unseemly for me. Mr. Lanza, you're 24 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
You've had maybe 1, possibly 2 out-of-wedlock children. That's enough.
He also told me that he was 27.
Well, he gets confused. In any event, you should have been smart enough to use some birth control so that we wouldn't be here involved. And who is this lady?
My mother.
How many children in your family?
There's 4 altogether.
Are you the oldest, the youngest, or in the middle?
In the middle.
All the other children live home?
No, ma'am.
You think your mother signed on to take care of a new baby?
No.
You live at home?
Yes, ma'am.
Look at it this way. It might keep you young. Then again, it might not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You were pregnant, and you only had 1 car at the time.
No, that's not true.
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, fine.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Monique Benavente says the father of her child, Carlos Lanza, owes for 2 truck payments she made on his behalf.
Now, in addition to making a mistake of having a child with him, you gave him 2 truck payments because he was behind in his truck payments, a truck that is in his mother's name. In your mother's name?
Yes, ma'am.
You're very polite. Did you ask her so politely when you needed the truck payments?
I got behind. The work was slow, and she was getting a check from her settlement from a car accident she was in a couple years ago, and it was our only vehicle that we had at the time.
That's
And
not true.
I was driving her everywhere, from San Jose to Modesto to her doctor appointments, shopping, all that stuff. I
Where
had
were you
fallen
living?
behind. Excuse me?
Where were you living?
San Jose?
With her?
Yes.
Just the 2 of you?
No, we were in a cousin's house.
Whose cousin?
My cousin.
And?
And after that, we moved in with my dad because I was working with him, general contractor. And, work was too slow. And she offered to help me pay the truck payments. That way we wouldn't lose the only vehicle that we had. She wasn't working at the time because her back, and being pregnant, she couldn't be at a salon for 8-10 hours,
That's not true.
Don't interrupt him again. How long did you live together where you supported her?
Maybe 9 months.
How long did you live together when you were not working, Miss Benavente?
Around 9 months, off and on.
And he was supporting you?
No, ma'am. I worked, I did hair, and I paid some of our bills. I paid for a lot of our food, and I did support him in finding a job, paying his gas money that he would use for other things that I found out later.
And what did he pay for?
He paid for some of what I just said. He paid for some of the food, some of the Macy's
What
bills.
did you pay for, Mr. Lanza?
Actually, I got her the phone. It was a T-Mobile phone. I was paying the monthly payments. I bought her food, I bought her clothes, I bought her shoes. Anything she needed, I got it. When I was working in a contract, I would actually leave work.
Doesn't anybody pay rent?
Yeah, I was paying rent, of course. I was paying.
Where were you paying the rent?
I was paying my cousin $500 a month.
Is that right?
No, we got kicked out of his cousins because he wasn't paying rent.
I did pay. The whole situation was that we were there for almost 4 months. On the 3rd month, I spoke to my cousin, look, man, my work has slowed down. I could give you $250 now and then $250 towards the end of the month. He said, well, you know what? I'm behind too. I just lost my job, so you're going to have to do something. I said, well, I don't want to owe you money. So I told him, you know what? We could just leave. I'll just go and...
I got it. Now, Ms. Benavente, why don't you tell me how it came about that you made these 2 truck payments? You were pregnant.
I was pregnant.
And you only had 1 car at the time.
No, that's not true.
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, fine.
And you had one car at the time, and he was driving you to and from your medical appointments?
Sometimes.
Listen, unless you're stuck in his cousin's house or in his father's house, then wherever you had to go, somebody was taking you.
I was stuck there. My mom would pick me up. He would drop me off at my mom's house, and she would take me to my appointments, and
Fine.
sometimes he would meet us
So he would
there.
drop you off at your mother's house. I mean, at first you lied to me and said to me that you had 2 cars. Now you're telling me that he would drop you off at your mother's house so she could take you to the appointments. Let me hear about the 2 truck payments, Miss Benavente.
Okay, so he couldn't hold a job, and he asked me to borrow them. He agreed to pay me back, and I believed him.
No. Tell me what he said to you. Where were you? Where was he? Tell me about it.
We were at his dad's house, and he asked me, he said, look, I can't work unless I have a car. It's going to get repossessed. My mom's credit's going to get ruined. Can you please help me out? And he said, I promise I will pay you back when I get a job. When he got a job, he never paid me back.
Did you tell her you would pay her back?
No, ma'am. The whole thing about us living together means, I mean, I would think when you...
No, don't tell me what you think.
Anyways.
Tell me what was said.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Go ahead. Well, I told her, you know, I need these truck payments because I'm now going to lose the only vehicle. So she said, fine. We made the payments and everything was fine.
In what month did you make the payments?
It was either late December, early January.
And when did the 2 of you separate?
June.
In June?
Yes, ma'am.
Between January and June, did he pay for the truck?
He didn't pay me anything.
And you lived together?
Yes.
And it was after you separated that you sued him, is that right?
Yes, but I continuously asked him to please pay me back.
You were living together as a couple, madam, at the time that he made these 2 truck payments. He was paying rent, he was paying bills, and I assume that you were working marginally before your baby was born, if at all, at least in the last 3 months. Somebody had to support you. Somebody had to be paying the bills. That was not you, and it was not your mother. And I'm quick to note that you and the defendant were not living with your mother, but you were living with the defendant in his cousin's house or in his father's house. Put your hand down. You weren't there. And it doesn't make sense to me that living in that kind of situation, expecting a baby, and living as a couple, he would say to you, could you loan me this money and I will pay you back, when he was in fact supporting you. Your case is dismissed, that's all.
Yeah, this is case number 270 on the calendar in the matter of Norris versus Norin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Norris, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for some rent, a small loan, and the damage to your apartment. The defendant says that there was never an agreement to pay you anything, and she never borrowed any money. How do you know each other?
We work together.
Where?
River Birch Senior Living.
And what do you do there?
We're both caregivers.
What was she doing living in your apartment?
Well, we became friends, kind of, and she'd been telling me she had a hard time getting money for rent, and she'd been kicked out of her apartment, and she'd been staying with some of her friends, and she was unhappy living where she was, and I felt really bad for her. She has a 5-year-old son, so I figured, you know, I'd let her move in with me for a couple months, and I told her at first, you know, don't worry about paying anything, just buy groceries, do some cooking and some cleaning, and, you know, save up your money, get your own place. And I was trying to help her out. It ended up taking 6 months.
So far, is that right?
No, Your Honor, it's not.
Okay. Well, tell me your version of how it came about that you moved into her apartment, which you did.
Right, I did.
And you moved into her apartment with your child.
I did.
Who else was living in her apartment?
At the time, she had another boyfriend besides Brandon.
So just the plaintiff, her then boyfriend, you and your child.
Correct.
And you moved into her apartment, according to you, with the understanding that you would not be paying rent.
Correct.
Which was very nice of her.
Correct.
What had you ever done for her?
She was one of my friends.
What? That's not my question. What had you ever done for her?
I was just a friend to her, I guess.
So the answer is you did nothing for her?
I guess so.
Okay. So that her gesture in feeling sorry for your living situation and inviting you to live in her home rent-free was a very nice thing.
Okay, Your Honor, but she had paid the rent in a year in advance. I moved in a month after she and her boyfriend had moved in.
You mean the rent was already paid?
Yeah, she had her rent paid for a full year. There was no agreement on the rent.
Open up your listening ears and listen to me because, you know, when I start to get agitated, he gets very, very nervous. When you moved into the apartment, it was a nice gesture on her part to let you and your kid move in there rent-free.
I understand that.
Well, then say yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now that we've got that settled. Keep going.
She ended up staying there for 6 months. There was a whole bunch of stuff that happened.
Well, at the end of 2 months.
At the end of 2 months.
Which is what you gave her.
She still hadn't saved up any money.
Your Honor, I had already had an apartment that I was in the process of getting.
Oh, great. That was after 2 months?
Yeah. Well, this was actually within a month after I moved into there. I was in the process of getting an apartment. I had put a down payment on an apartment and was in the process, and she kicked her other boyfriend out and had asked if I wanted to stay.
Okay. So the other boyfriend, not this one, left.
Right.
And she asked you if you wanted to stay.
Correct.
Under what circumstances?
There was just the circumstances of the groceries and cleaning, and that was the only
Well, then it was still a
agreement.
nice... Listen to me. It was a really nice gesture, because now, according to you, just listen to me. Now, according to you, she no longer had a boyfriend who was helping her share the rent. Now
He wasn't paying rent anyway. Neither one of her boyfriends have paid rent in that place.
Good, so she was covering the rent.
Yeah. She already had paid it for a year. It was paid before she moved in.
This one's as dumb as a bucket of rocks, I swear to you. You're not listening.
I am listening.
Then she was a triply nice person, because now she doesn't have a boyfriend living with her, just you and your kid living there rent-free.
No, she moved him in right after she moved her other one out.
So was he paying rent?
No.
So now she got the two of you freeloaders living there rent-free and your kid.
And his kid.
So why didn't you move out?
I was planning on it. I was in the process of that.
But just a second. According to you, you were planning on moving out after 2 months, and you put a deposit down on an apartment. The question is, once she moved this new boyfriend in, why didn't you leave?
I had gotten the deposit back from my other apartment that I was trying to get, and whenever she had offered or asked for me to stay. And then as time went over, I was planning on moving. I was trying to move. I was working on moving, but I didn't have the money at the time.
What'd you do with the money that you got back as a deposit?
I had other bills to pay.
What?
I had a cell phone bill. I have, other bills to pay.
Like what?
I had to buy groceries. I had to buy food.
Groceries and food are usually the same thing.
Well, I'm sorry. Miscellaneous
synonymous.
items then.
Like
I'm sorry,
what?
Your Honor.
Like what?
Like what? Bathroom stuff, laundry detergent.
That's groceries.
It's miscellaneous household items, I'm sorry. Plus food. My mother bought food for the apartment twice.
Keep going.
I didn't ask her to stay.
Just a second. Oh, sorry. I think she was buying some other stuff with her money anyway. Keep going.
I didn't ask her to stay. It was just kind of it was unsaid, but I did let her
Miss
stay.
Norris, you just let it go, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about the damage that you allege she...
Okay, there was damage to the stairs, her bedroom. The Venetian blinds are torn up.
Who tore up the Venetian blinds?
I don't know how it happened. I have cats, but none of the other Venetian blinds are torn up from them getting in the windowsills.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. And there was a incident in the bathroom, her and her boyfriend having a little fun, and she ripped the towel rack out of the wall. I have pictures of that.
I'd like to see it. How old was the boyfriend who she had in the apartment?
26, 28.
What's his name?
Her first boyfriend was Jimmy.
Does Jimmy have a last name?
Jimmy, which was Brandon's best friend, and as soon as him and I split up, that's when all the problems started, because he was his best friend.
Listen to me very carefully. Sounds to me as if Miss Norris was doing a good deed by inviting you and your son, who were homeless.
I wasn't homeless, Your Honor.
Well, where were you living immediately prior to her house? Give me the name, person who you were living with, and their phone number.
His name is Shane, and his phone number is 891.
How do you know him?
Because he was a boyfriend and a friend.
He was a boyfriend and a friend?
Yes.
Was he the father of your 5-year-old?
No, he is not.
Immediately prior to moving in with Miss Norris, how long did you live with Shane?
I would say maybe 6 months, maybe.
Prior to living with him, where did you live?
I had an apartment.
With whom?
With myself.
Where is the father of your 5-year-old?
In Springfield, Illinois.
Did you ever live with him?
A long time ago, before my child was born.
Who do you live with now?
I live with a boyfriend. We were getting ready to move into a house in Auburn.
And what's this boyfriend's name?
Scott.
So far, I know of at least 3
There were
men.
over years of period of time.
No, listen to me very carefully. So far, I know of at least 3 men to whom you have introduced your son.
And that I was with for a long period of time. With
He's
each
only
of them.
5, madam. He's only 5. Grow up. You made a baby. Anybody
And I
can
take
make-
care
I'm
of my
speaking-
child.
Anybody. You didn't take care of him. If you had to move in to this lady's house.
I still have my child, and my child's doing very well, and he's in a very well school. Very well clothed, very well taken
He's in a
care
very
of.
well school. I have to write that down. Send it over to Webster's.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's nice to do nice things for people who appreciate them. This woman clearly does not. There's something wrong with her thinking process. Do you understand?
And later today,
So what you're saying to me is people moving around like idiots to heavy metal music, flailing their arms, etc. And it was when you were doing that you knocked out his teeth.
they had no agreement to pay rent.
Now I want you to tell me about this loan that you alleged that you made to her.
We took a trip. Your Honor, this trip, there's 2 other people that she bought tickets for on this trip that did not pay her back. So I do not feel that I owe her money on that trip. She knew that I was not able to pay for that trip and that I did not want to go, but she needed me to go because she needed me to participate in her set. It was a dance competition. She needed me to participate.
Your Honor, I paid for...
When was this trip?
In March.
Where did you go?
We went to Baltimore, and I paid for the plane ticket, and, I told her I would pay for it. I didn't want money back for that because...
Fine. Then we don't have to deal with it.
Right.
So you just have to deal with the damage that was done that I see in the house. You want to tell me how much it's going to cost to fix that?
They said $35 an hour to fix everything. We went and got shampoo for the carpets and stuff, and that was about $30. But I have on my lease, and her name is on the lease, and at first, she's right, there was no agreement. But she did agree me to pay $100 every week until she had me paid off because I had gotten very upset. My boyfriend Brandon and I wrote out a list of what she would owe me if I had been charging her for everything. And she found that piece of paper with everything on it, and she sent me a text message saying she would pay me $100 a week until she got it paid off. My boyfriend saw it. I do not have the text message. I didn't think I would need it, but my boyfriend saw it. This is Brandon.
No, listen to me. Don't even bother. You do not have a contract. If you say that she signed a promissory note, I need the note. If you don't have the note, I do not take oral testimony about a written contract. Do you understand?
Yes.
I'm just telling you I'm trying to explain the law to you. You cannot introduce oral testimony of a written contract that you don't have. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So far, let's say that she owes you $250 for the damage to the apartment. You didn't expect to be repaid for the plane ticket, and you had no contract for rent. And I'm going to suggest something to you, Miss Norris. It's nice to do nice things for people who appreciate them. This woman clearly does not, and did not. You should have put her out before. And I know that that's sometimes a hard thing to do because she's got a 5-year-old child who's probably very sweet. But if you really expected her to reimburse you for money, then you should have put her out before. I mean, she thinks, well, just because you prepaid the rent for a year, it's no skin off your nose if she and her child live there. Well, that's outrageous. I mean, if I had a mortgage and if I prepaid my mortgage on my house for a year, she'd say, well, so what? So the whole neighborhood can move in because what difference does that make to her? She's already paid it. There's something wrong with her thinking process. Do you understand? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Sorry to see a friendship that had to end like this.
She just has no respect for anybody.
Well, she's not going to have my friendship anymore.
That's the kind of person she is, obviously.
That's how I'm going to repay her.
Well, I'll never have a friend move in with me again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Malloy versus Muse. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Timothy Malloy and his mother, Paula, are suing Timothy's former friend, 23-year-old David Muse, for money loaned to have his teeth fixed.
Mrs. Malloy, this is your son.
Yes.
And the defendant used to be his friend.
Still is.
Good. This is your complaint. Your son and the defendant were at some sort of musical event. They were bandmates and friends. And this was some time ago. And at the event, your son accidentally, I assume accidentally, since they're still friends, punched the defendant or hit the defendant in the mouth, causing him to have 2 teeth that came loose, both of which required substantial dental work.
Yes.
At the time, your son was 17 years old.
Yes.
You claim that you loaned the defendant money for the dental work because he didn't have insurance and he did not pay you back.
No.
That's what your lawsuit is about. Mr. Muse, as a defense, says that your son was responsible to pay for his dental work since he was the one who knocked out his teeth. Since he was a minor, that responsibility fell on you. He has a counterclaim for the dental work, but the lawsuit itself resolves that issue, Mr. Muse. You understand? And as far as lost wages are concerned, I don't think that that was originally part of your claim. I don't know why you filed for that.
It was originally part of the counterclaim. It's.
I understand it was part of the counterclaim, sir, but since Mr. Malloy is still a friend of yours, and I understand from his mother that there was a time when you lived in their home after this incident, I don't think that your lost wages became an issue until she sued you for the dental work. That be a fair statement?
The money that I did pay her while I was there could be considered as a sort of a rent for being there.
What does one thing have to do with another? Didn't you understand what I said to you?
Yes.
I said to you that countersuing for your lost wages doesn't seem to me to be something that you would be suing for unless Miss Malloy was suing you for the dental work.
And I also have other dental work. I had she paid for the root canals. I also accrued over $1,000 in other dental work that's not paid for.
That I will consider.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
But his good luck was having someone he knew knock out his teeth and not some stranger at the show. Then he would have had no recourse.
He was very, very lucky. He was very, very lucky.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Timothy Malloy and his mother Paula claim David Muse owes for a loan to have his teeth fixed. David says it's Timothy's fault that his teeth were knocked out while they were moshing at a concert.
So let's get to your lawsuit. First of all, how did you knock out his teeth?
I was moshing at a show.
What's moshing?
It's a form of dancing at like heavier music, like metal or hardcore, where a bunch of people run around, swing their arms and legs, and accidentally hit him in the mouth.
So what you're saying to me is people moving around like idiots to heavy metal music, flailing their arms, etc., right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was when you were doing that that you knocked out his teeth?
Yes.
Does that be a fair statement?
Yes.
So whose fault is that, sir?
I guess I would say it was mine.
I guess you would be right.
But he should take some responsibility for being in that situation.
Absolutely not.
He should be aware of what's going on around him.
Absolutely not, Miss Malloy. That's like saying that when you're driving on a highway and you're doing 65 miles an hour, and if there is an accident because a car veers off and hits you, you should be aware of the fact that if cars are going 65 miles an hour, you could get hit. Therefore, it's partially your fault. That's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous assertion. Do you understand?
I understand. I've been to these shows. I stand off to the side because I know what's going on.
Well, you're a different person. But would you agree with me that if you and 10 other people are on a highway traveling 65 miles an hour, you know that if there's an accident, you could get hurt?
Yes.
And that some people don't drive as safely as others?
Yes.
And if you're in a car accident, would you think that the other person who did something wrong, who caused the accident, would have a defense if they say, well, if you didn't want to be on the highway where you were going 65 miles an hour, you should stay home? Is that a ridiculous defense?
Yes.
So is yours. Your son caused the accident, caused him to have 2 teeth that broke. It's his responsibility. And since he's 17 years old, it becomes your responsibility because he's a minor. Especially since if you tell me that you've been to these events and you know that's what happens, and if this is your minor son, you should have kept him home.
But now he never blamed Timothy. He came to me and it was a loan.
I am telling you that it's Timothy's responsibility and it falls on you. And if he wasn't smart enough then to say, listen, he caused the accident, he should be paying for the dental work. He's smart enough now. It's your responsibility. How old are you?
23 now.
And you were 22 at the time?
Yes.
You're 18 now?
19.
19?
Today.
19 today?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
I'm a musician.
Do you make a living at it?
At the moment, yes.
You do?
Yeah.
You should start paying your mother back for the money. Why don't you?
I don't have the money.
Why not?
Because I don't have that much. I don't make that much.
How much do you make?
Not a lot.
How much?
It's not set yet.
Yeah, it just started.
Oh, good. Well, you're 19, so you should start paying your mother back for the money. And he's got more dental work. What do you expect him to do with those bills? It's your fault.
Pay for them?
Right. That would be right.
Your Honor, he has made payments to me for the money, which
he was absolutely wrong to make payments to you.
Well, when we started out, it was a loan.
He was absolutely wrong to make payments to you. And the fact that you conned him into thinking that he was responsible for his own dental bills is a problem.
I didn't con him, Your Honor. He took responsibility for it.
He was not responsible. Your son was responsible.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
He was not responsible for getting punched in the mouth and for having 2 teeth knocked out of his face. Your son was responsible. And if he would have been 18 years old, there's no question, he would have been responsible. He would have paid. The question is, he wasn't 18 years old. He was 17 years old. And therefore, his mother, who knows what kind of actions go on there, because she said, I go there myself, and I stand off to the side because I know it can be dangerous. You allowed him to go there.
Yes, but David
even worse.
was moshing at the time also.
Even worse. He didn't hurt anybody. If he had hurt somebody, he would have been responsible. If he had knocked out your son's teeth, he would have been responsible.
Yes, Your Honor, but his good luck was having someone he knew knock out his teeth and not some stranger at the show. Then he would have had no recourse.
He was very, very lucky. He was very, very lucky. Your claim is dismissed, Miss Malloy. He owes you absolutely nothing. You and your son, on the other hand, owe him on his counterclaim $1,123. Thank you very much. That's all.
Your Honor, case number 417 on the calendar in the matter of Sindler versus Barone.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Sindler, Mr. Barone came to live with you. He was a friend of yours. According to your complaint, Mr. Barone had you falsely arrested for both assault, and he told the police that you were growing a controlled substance in your backyard, which you say was not true. It was actually Mr. Barone who was growing this controlled substance, and the altercation that resulted in the police being called had to do with your discovery of that. Mr. Barone says that you did, in fact, assault him. You were, in fact, growing a controlled substance in the backyard, so he did not falsely report criminal activity because everything that he said was true. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ever been arrested, Mr. Barone?
Yes.
You want to tell me when you were arrested?
I was arrested for possession of paraphernalia a while ago.
What kind of paraphernalia, Mr. Barone?
I think it was blunt guts. Do you know what that is?
You're going to tell me.
Okay. If you take a cigar, you cut it down the middle, the stuff
and then
that's
what
inside.
do you put inside?
Whatever you want to put inside, ma'am.
What did you put inside?
Some weed.
Some marijuana?
Yeah.
And in what year was this arrest? Just before you give me an I want you to try to think very carefully. In what year was that arrest?
I have no idea, to tell you the truth. I mean, it was so long ago.
It can't be so long ago, sir, because you're only 26.
Yeah. Well, I would say probably 3-4 years ago.
And since then?
I've been good. Oh, I had a DUI. First and last, I promise.
Ever been arrested, Mr. Sindler?
Yes, Your Honor.
For what?
I have been arrested for burglary and assault.
When?
The assault charge, I believe it was 2001.
And the burglary?
The burglary charge took place in 2003.
Ever arrested for any crimes involving drugs?
I have been.
Go ahead.
Paraphernalia charge.
When?
It was with Mr. Barone in 2001, also on August 2nd.
This case?
For this matter, yes.
Why, did you think that this was going to be easy, Mr. Barone?
No, of course not.
If you did, it was a big mistake.
I love you. You're the best.
You're right.
Being honest.
You're right. Get in line. There's a long line.
I know, I can tell.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Long line.
I believe it.
Now, Mr. Sindler, when did Mr. Barone move in with you?
He moved in the end of May.
And when is it that you allege that you found these marijuana plants growing in your backyard?
It was on the morning of August 2nd.
And with your hands, Mr. Sindler, I want you to show me how big the plants were.
This being the pot that they were growing out of, I'd say roughly about here.
About 2.5 to 3 feet.
Correct.
So let's say Mr. Barone moved in the end of May. So we had June and July to plant little seeds, right? And then for these plants to grow. I am not an expert in everything. I know that that surprises you. So do we have an estimate as to whether or not marijuana plants can grow from seeds to 3 feet high in 60 days?
I believe they can. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert either.
Bert, have you ever heard of people growing marijuana plants?
Sure.
Do you have any clue as to whether or not a marijuana plant can grow to 3 feet high in 60 days?
I have no idea.
Okay, now, Mr. Sindler, now you can tell me all about your cause of action, which you allege that Mr. Barone falsely reported that you assaulted him and that you were growing marijuana in your backyard.
Correct.
Go!
On August 2nd, the morning, I had gone outside and noticed that my garden hose was extended all the way to the end of the yard. So I had gone back to the end to recoil the garden hose. When I'd gone back, I'd noticed that in the back, behind bushes, were marijuana plants growing.
Go ahead.
So when I had discovered these, of course, I was curious. We live in the house with a 4-year-old child of ours. My immediate instinct was to destroy them and call her, my girlfriend, and tell her to come home and that we need to kick Dominic out of the house because I had noticed that, you know, I don't grow marijuana. So, I mean, this has obviously been planted by him. And when she had come home, she had Dominic drive her home because they work at the same place, the job that I had gotten him. When they had come home, I had confronted Dominic, told him that he needs to move out of my house.
Did you tell him why?
I did. At that time, he had jumped up and pushed me down onto the couch. And then he had strangled me. My girlfriend was present during the entire thing and witnessed it, was screaming at him to get off of me. After about 2 minutes, when he finally did release me, I had called the police. At that time, Mr. Barone had ran upstairs to our bedroom and had threatened to destroy our belongings if I did anything or made any actions with the police. I had then noticed that I really can't do much at that moment, and I had gone to the courthouse to file a peace order.
So you didn't wait for the police?
I did not, Your Honor, because I honestly was a little frazzled from the whole incident. He had strangled me for about 3 minutes.
Well, you weren't frazzled. That didn't frazzle you.
Ma'am. How can you strangle for someone for 3 minutes?
Mr. Barone,
I
don't
apologize.
speak.
I won't.
When you left the house, who was in the house?
Mr. Barone and Catalina.
And where was your child?
He was with his grandparents.
Okay, so you left this raving maniac in the house with the mother of your child so that you can go to the courthouse. That's what you're telling me.
In so many words, Your Honor, yes.
Well, that's what you did.
Yeah.
I mean, he's upstairs threatening to destroy all your property. You call the police and leave your wife. How tall are you?
4'11".
4'11". You left her with him in the house, and you left to go to the courthouse.
Yes. Poor judgment, I admit.
Very poor judgment, sir. What's next?
I had gone to the courthouse to file a peace order, which I have here, to get him removed from the residence.
I see that.
He also violated the peace order less than a week after.
I don't want to hear about that.
I had then come home. Mr. Barone was already back at work, and I had told him that he's not allowed to come back to the house. I have a peace order against him. When he did arrive at the house, he had brought city police with him and had told them that I was growing marijuana in the backyard. And before he even entered my residence, had these officers searching the outside of my premises. On top of that, Your Honor.
Just a minute. Mr. Barone.
Yes, ma'am.
You were, in fact, at some point served with this peace order, and you did, in fact, appear with an attorney. Now, you appeared at some point before Judge William.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh. Is not an answer. Yes, ma'am. And at that time, you and your attorney, after being fully advised of your rights, consented to the entry of a final peace order.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
You want to explain to me why, sir, if you were innocent of everything that transpired on the 2nd of August, you would consent to the entry of a peace order?
Well, for one reason, I don't know what the heck my lawyer was doing at that point in time.
Oh, I don't believe that for a
really
moment,
don't.
Mr. Barone.
Actually,
Dominic, listen to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I had to plead
You're
for
a wise guy, and wise guys always know what their lawyers are doing.
Well, not in this point in time, unfortunately.
How did you find that lawyer, Mr. Barone?
He actually helped me with my DUI.
So he was helpful, so he was a good lawyer.
But, no, he knew people in the court. That's the only reason I really got him initially. I mean, I'm dead serious. He knew the judges. I got off on a very lenient, I was on probation for a year. I made a bad decision to move in with someone that was bipolar. He just flipped out one day. When I get my chance, I'll explain it to you, ma'am.
Go ahead. Now I'll hear you.
Great. Okay, I'm at work with, unfortunately, his girlfriend. So I get her motioning towards me. She said, I don't understand. Jason keeps on calling me. He's crazy. He broke his TV with his phone. He ripped the phone jack out of the wall. Could you take me to lunch while you go to lunch? I said, no problem. I'm going to head back anyways. So she comes with me to the house. We get there. Jason's nowhere to be found. The house is torn up, papers everywhere. His cell phone's broken in like 15 pieces. His 55-inch TV is shattered on the front, and Jason's nowhere to be found. So I proceed to, go about my business, getting my lunch. I only have about an hour. As I'm fixing lunch, Jason returns. He doesn't say anything to me, and I understand I have a bad temper sometimes as well. I'm going to be honest. So I left him alone. I don't want anybody to speak to me when I'm angry. I gave him his piece, sat down, ate. It was actually beefaroni. He was eating beefaroni. He went upstairs to talk to Catalina. He comes downstairs and storms out. I hear tires peel. Catalina comes down crying. I ask, what's wrong? She says, I don't understand what he's saying. I didn't know what to say to him. So I was like, look, I can't live here. I'm giving you my 30-day notice now. I can't live in I'm on probation. I can't live in a hostile environment like this. So Jason, like I said, returns. I don't say anything to him. At that point in time, I'm finishing my food. He leaves. When he came back, I was sitting on the couch, and me and Catalina were actually discussing the situation, saying, look, I don't know what the heck's going on with him. Why would you break your own TV? And he heard that, and he's like, okay, can I use profanity on here or no?
You can do whatever you want. Like
get
Mr.
the
Barone,
out of
I
my
guarantee you at my age, you can't say anything that I haven't heard
Well,
before.
I didn't want to disrespect you. He said, get the out of my house. At that point in time, I said, for what? And he's like, oh, because you're talking. So he's trying to antagonize me, trying to get me to, beat him up. And I know he's trying to lure me into it for me to violate my probation. So I'm not violating probation for anybody. I sit down, I'm finishing my stuff, and he comes up and hovers over me and calls me again and puts his fingers to my head and pushes it. It's kind of like a mush or something. So as soon as he mushed me, I got up and I pushed him back. I said, Jason, you come towards me, I'm going to have to defend myself. Jason comes lunging towards me. And I practiced a little bit of jiu-jitsu throughout my life, and I don't know if you know what a guillotine hold is, but it's basically a subduing move. So he kind of tackles me, and I have him in a subduing move. And at this time, I tell Catalina, call the cops, I'm being assaulted. And Catalina's looking at me like she's bewildered, like she doesn't know what to do. So at this point in time, I hear him gurgle, and my intent is not to hurt him. It's just to subdue him. So I let it go a little bit, let him breathe. As soon as that's done, I said, look, Jason, I'm going to give you another chance. I'm going to let you up, but if you come towards me, I'm going to have to hurt you. So I let him up. He jumps over the couch like he's doing hurdles in a sprint and runs to the phone and calls the cops and says that he's being assaulted. So that's where we're at right now, in a nutshell.
Who was growing the marijuana in the backyard?
Again, back to the same statement I said. If I had a house and I was leasing a room to someone that was living at my house, do you think that I would let them?
Don't ask me questions, sir. It's not my job to answer your questions.
Jason was growing the weed. And he got arrested for possession of marijuana that day as well, which is even more.
Did you tell the police that he was growing the marijuana?
Well, when I...
Just look at me and answer my question.
Okay.
Did you tell the police that he was growing the marijuana?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know about the marijuana, Mr. Barone?
I lived there. We both knew. Like him saying that he wouldn't know that there's plants growing on his own property.
Just a second.
It's ludicrous.
I asked you a question. How did you know about the marijuana?
I knew there was marijuana there. It's our backyard.
Just a second. When did you first know about it?
When he first started planting them.
When?
I have no idea.
You said when he first started planting them.
Yeah, they were probably about a little bit bigger than that, seedlings, when I got there.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to the backyard and you saw these little tiny seedlings back there? Is that what you're telling me, Mr. Barone?
No, actually, Jason was very proud of them, and he showed it to me. I was like, okay. I mean, they're not mine. I'm not growing them, so cool.
Who watered them?
Who watered them?
Why does that sound like there's an echo here, sir? I asked you a question. I said, who watered them?
You know what? I'll be honest. I'll be honest. I help water them. I'll be honest. I'm here to tell the truth. I'm not here to lie or deceive anybody. So I smoke weed myself.
No.
Yes.
Don't believe me.
Yes. Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you're telling me just doesn't have a ring of truth to it. Forget him. He doesn't know about the ring of truth. But what you're telling me doesn't have the ring of truth. And I don't know why.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Sendler is accusing former tenant Dominic Barone of having him falsely arrested for growing marijuana.
Okay, now stand up. Tell me what happened on the 2nd of August. Look at me. Make sure that I get whatever is a legitimate story from you. Okay. Otherwise, you see that? It's nothing compared to what I do to people who are 4'11". Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Go.
On August 2nd, I got a call from my boyfriend, Jason, telling me that I have to go to the house. He also told me that Dominic needs to be out of the house. I couldn't understand why was the reason. He was really upset, so I asked Dominic that I need to go with him to the house. I didn't tell him that Jason told me that.
What happened when you got home?
When I got home...
Look at me.
Jason was there. He was pretty upset, and basically he asked Dominic to leave the house because of the stuff that he found in the backyard, and he just needed him out of the house.
Did your boyfriend break the TV?
I don't know. I don't know who actually brought the TV. He was just upset.
Who do you think broke the TV? Look at me.
I think it was Jason because he was upset and he called me, and at the time that he called me, he having interference with the phone.
Whose TV was it?
Or TV.
So he was furious.
He was.
What did you break the TV with, Jason?
My cell phone doesn't work in the house, and it was giving me trouble, and I threw it at the ground, and when it hit the ground, it skipped and shattered bounced into the TV screen.
Are you serious?
I threw it at the ground.
I don't want to hear you.
Directly at the ground.
Mr. Barone, I don't like you. I know how you feel about me, but there's something about you that's very irritating, sir. I think that maybe you should go to some sort of a counselor to help you reprogram yourself so that you won't be such an irritating person for the rest of your life.
I'll check it out. I'll check that out.
I don't believe that story, Mr. Sindler. Do you understand?
I understand.
That's a lot of baloney. You don't break a television when a cell phone skips on the floor.
It bounced into it and broke the panel, the screen, the front of it.
People deserve each other. Mr. Sindler.
Oh, that's low.
Mr. Sindler, I tend to believe you about a couple of things. I tend to believe you, sir, that it was Mr. Barone who started to grow this marijuana in your backyard. Tend to believe you. Not sure. I also find it really unusual that someone doesn't see contraband that he is familiar with because you had a prior drug arrest growing in your backyard. So something else is going on, Mr. Sindler. I don't know what it is. What do you think it might be?
I'm not sure exactly what you're getting at, but as I explained...
I don't know what it is, Mr. Sindler. I don't know why a man like you, who, according to you, is faced with somebody who is out of control, would leave the mother of his child at home to fend for herself while he gets in the car and goes to a courthouse when the police are on their way. I don't understand that, Mr. Sindler. It doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, I'm not getting the full truth from either one of you. Can you understand my consternation, sir? Can you understand why what you're telling me just doesn't have a ring of truth to it? Forget him. He doesn't know about the ring of truth. But what you're telling me doesn't have the ring of truth. And I don't know why.
Well, what I can honestly say is that when I had left, as I had admitted before, it was poor judgment. But at the same time, I was also upset with my girlfriend the fact that she didn't make any attempts to contact any police during the time that he was attacking me. Like I said, bad
Why do you think that is, sir? Why?
Because I was pretty scared of Dominic's actions. And
why weren't you afraid for Jason?
I was afraid that what he will be able to do in the house. And he said that he will definitely destroy the house. He burned the house. And he will, you know, basically kill us, my kid and myself and my boyfriend.
That's what I'm asking you. I don't understand how Jason could have left you alone with what he says is a lunatic.
Basically, he was just trying to get the pizza to get him out of the house. And we got him out of the house.
Who pled guilty to the possession of this marijuana?
My charge was dropped, Your Honor, which I have proof of.
I'd like to see it. What about yours?
No, mine, I did the community service again.
I'm asking you what happened with yours. He says his was dropped. What happened with yours?
A no proseque or whatever you guys call that.
That means that you pled
Yes.
nolo contendere.
Yes, again, with the lawyer. That's why I no longer have him.
Gotcha. Mr. Barone, if I knew the kind of assistance to offer you to make you into a more affable person, and one that is more, and yeah, I do know you.
Don't.
I do know you, sir. I've been in the justice system for 30 years. Believe me, I know you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. Excuse me, you're only suing for $2,000?
Actually, Your
I would
Honor.
have given you more, sir,
Your
because
Honor, if I
I'm
may.
speaking.
All right, no problem.
It's crazy.
Because Mr. Barone pled guilty to the growing of marijuana.
No,
contendere is. I'm speaking.
Well, get it right then.
I'm speaking.
If you're gonna say it, then speak. Get it right.
I
It was
always
paraphernalia.
get it. I
No,
always
you
get it
didn't,
right,
because
sir.
I didn't get charged for plants. It was paraphernalia of a scale.
Oh,
Yeah.
of a scale.
That he put in my bag.
Of a
Yeah.
scale.
You haven't seen any of
Perfect.
my.
Judgment for the plaintiff in
Great.
the amount of $2,000.
Happy birthday.
That's
Merry
all.
Christmas.
Step out.
Yeah, it's case number 399 on the calendar in the matter of Fragano versus Peterson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Please have a seat.
Mr. Fragano, you and Miss Peterson were in a relationship and decided to do a little commingling of your assets.
Yes.
Very dumb.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is this the first time you've ever done that with a girlfriend?
Yes, we were engaged to be married.
Did you get the ring back?
No, she kept it.
Where's the ring?
She took it.
Where's the
I
ring?
have it with me, Your Honor.
Good. Can I have it, please? Very lovely. You don't want this engagement ring, do you? Perfect.
No, I don't.
And Mr. Fragano, you do want it back, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah, she doesn't want it. And you want it back. And you should have it back. Because we're going to resolve everything so the two of you can go your own separate ways.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay? Perfect. See how fair I am? See how fair I am?
I appreciate it very much.
That's it. Don't get used to it. Yeah. Mr. Fragano,
Thank you, sir.
I'm a very orderly person. We want to deal with one thing at a time.
Okay.
The first thing that you want is some money, because you claim that Miss Peterson sold some items of yours, I don't know, baseball cards, videos, whatever they were,
Video game collection.
on eBay.
Yes.
A system that I wholly do not understand, nor do I want to understand it at my stage in life. Miss Peterson acknowledges that she sold these things for you on eBay because she knew how to do it, and she acknowledges she has some money that she's holding that belongs to you, right?
Right.
How much money are you holding from the sale of the items on eBay?
It's like $630.
Okay, so far you have $630 on your team and the engagement ring. Then you say that there is a computer,
Yes, an Alienware laptop.
which Miss Peterson says she does not have, correct?
Correct.
And you've never had it in your possession.
No, I have not.
So you purchased a computer online.
Yes.
And tell me what happened, sir, why you think she's responsible for this computer.
I sold my video game collection for purchasing the laptop. Also for extra money for her birthday on November 2nd. I purchased the laptop from the seller on eBay. I transferred $645 from my account into hers to pay for the item. And I have not received the item because of her. She waited out on the 23rd, I do believe, of October for the laptop. I went there with my father. I had my evidence, which I had already showed to the postmaster. He said there's nothing he can do. It has to go to the address. So I went to the mail lady. They looked at my evidence. They said just bring it right back to the post office. Do not even let her know that it's in the mail truck. She yelled at my father, don't touch my mail. She saw the laptop in the truck, tried to get it. Her girlfriend was there as well with the kids. I called the cops. I have a police report on that as well. The laptop went back. She tried to claim it. She does not have valid ID for Jennifer Fragano.
But it went back.
It went back to the seller, yes, and I did contact him, and he told me over the phone that I was a sick SOB.
Then you have to sue him because he's got the laptop back and
well,
your money.
He told me that he was sending it back to her.
But she doesn't have it, and I believe her. And you've never had it in your possession.
I have not.
Nor has anyone in your family.
No.
Okay, so he hasn't sent it back, and the seller has $645 of your money.
Yes.
Well, that's intolerable. So you have to sue him.
Can't contact him. I got
What do
him
you
once. I sent him multiple emails. He never responded once. And I have proof of them corresponding. He made his sale private, and she made it private as well. So they're corresponding together, working together, and I know that well, I don't know for a fact that she has a laptop, but I do have tracking confirms up until the point where he received it.
But then you saw that she didn't get it.
Well, no, if he remailed it, it wouldn't be tracking confirmed no more. It would be under a
I
different
guarantee he didn't remail it. You know how to reach him?
Yes.
Okay. Because you have a counterclaim, so this is what we're going to do. All this is very unfortunate. Probably the seller who sold the computer, and when was that? In what month?
The sale of the laptop was on... Hold on. Wow, I had everything so organized. Now I'm on
October?
Oh, so it's recent.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to entertain your counterclaim. Everything that you may get a judgment for in your counterclaim is going to be stayed until you contact the owner of the computer and have the owner of the computer send the computer to you. What?
He said he'll ship it as long as somebody pays for the shipping again.
Okay.
So
I had already agreed
he
to
wants
do
to
that.
contact him.
So he's going to pay for the shipping again.
Okay.
But you're going to get the computer. You're going to get nothing on your counterclaim until he has the computer in his possession. Do
Okay.
you understand?
Yes.
Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Perfect. Is that satisfactory, sir?
Yes.
Good. Now, Ms. Peterson, we're going to your counterclaim. So now you have money and you have your computer. Other than doing what I've told her to do, she can't get the computer from this guy if he's not going to send it.
Mm-hmm.
But she's going to try very hard because she's going to tell me what she wants from you, some of which I think she's entitled to, and she's not going to get it until you have your computer. So she's going to work real hard to see to it that you get your computer. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, your counterclaim, Ms. Peterson says that the two of you did a ridiculous thing. You purchased this car. You used a car of yours as a trade-in.
Yes.
Down payment for a car that the two of you were using together.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a Sebring convertible, which is mine. I have purchased her 3 cars, a Jeep Wrangler.
We're not talking about any 3 cars. We're talking about the car that was used.
Right, I purchased that. I have evidence that I purchased it.
No question. You purchased it. You're telling me that you used a car that was yours.
Yes.
For a down payment on that car.
Yes.
Which car did you use as a down payment?
1989 Pontiac Grand Am.
Was that car traded in, sir?
Yes, we both signed off on it.
We?
Was that car in both your names?
No, only in her name.
So it was her car. And that car was used as a down payment on the car that you currently have. Is that right?
Yes.
And that was done in what month and year?
July of '07.
And the two of you separated in when?
October.
And how much did you receive as a credit for her car?
$500.
Is that right?
Yes.
And then when you separated, you took the car?
She took it at first to her parents' house and then took it to work, and I made a police report and then went and retrieved the car.
What year car is your Sebring?
The Monte Carlo is the one that I had bought for her. It's a 2001 Monte Carlo.
When you say you bought the 2001 Monte Carlo for her, was it a gift?
No.
What was it?
Well, she drove my Sebring into a flooded area, and her car was acting up, and I didn't want to put any more repairs into it. So I said, let's get a new car, and I will put you on there as well so that you can pay the insurance, and it would be registered to you. She never once made an insurance payment. Her insurance lapsed. I had to put it in my name, the insurance, and I paid everything.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who did you return the car seats to?
I dropped them off by all of my belongings that were covered in used kitty litter.
You didn't return it.
I did.
You know, you didn't.
I dropped it there.
Sorry.
I left it there for her.
Don't buy it.
And later today,
He's a perfect angel in her eyes.
He doesn't look like an angel.
He's my angel.
Maybe your angel, but he's
countersuing for a car Vincent repossessed and for the value of the property inside.
okay. In any event, Miss Peterson, you want minimally $500 back.
Yes.
That was the trade-in value of your car.
Yes.
That sounds reasonable to me, Mr. Fragano.
Yeah, but I paid for everything.
I understand that.
You know.
You don't get
They get away with it, and
listen.
it bothers me.
Hey, listen, Mr. Fragano, sometimes that stuff happens.
I understand that.
Usually happens where the girl is standing on that side and the guy is standing on this side. Every once in a while it happens the other way around. But she gets back the $500 as soon as you get the what?
The laptop.
The laptop, correct. Now, there's another part of your lawsuit, and that is when he came and took the car back from you.
Yes.
You had personal property in the car.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what personal property you had in the car.
It was some belongings of my children. It's a Barbie Magnadoodle. It's one of those little drawing boards for kids to play with.
Who cares? Go ahead. What else?
I have receipts for that. I have receipts for car seats that belong to my children.
Okay. You have two children?
Yes, I have two.
Were there car seats in the car?
Yes, I returned everything on Sunday. Sunday
Which
evening
Sunday?
after they called the cops on me and her mother told the police outrageous accusations about
Just
me.
a second. Who did you return the car seats to?
I brought them to South Locust Avenue and I dropped them off by all of my belongings that were covered in used kitty litter and...
Shh. Did you bring them into the house?
I couldn't. I wasn't allowed on the property.
So what did you do? You just threw them on the property?
I placed them by the tree and I told Alba that they were there, the previous landlord.
All you had to do was bring them to the police station. Mr.
I was
Fragano.
escorted off the property
Mr.
by the
Fragano, don't play with me, sir. You don't throw it by a tree along with your property that was covered in kitty litter and then say I returned it. You didn't return it.
I did.
You know, you didn't.
I dropped it there.
Sorry.
I left it there for her.
Sorry. Don't buy it.
And it was only 2 car seats, 1 medical bill from Stony Brook, and a couple of toys that they used my Target card to purchase as well.
I don't care whether they used your Target card to purchase it at all. The most important thing were the car seats, and you have to replace those because you didn't return them. If you took them to the police precinct and said, listen, I'm dropping them off at the police precinct, you can go and pick them up there, that's one thing. What you did was vicious. You don't get credit for that. So you're going to pay $100 for each of the car seats.
They were only $30 each.
Really? How do you know that?
Because I purchased the one, and the other one was the exact same one as the one I purchased. And it was
You
$30
have
from
bills
Target.
for the car seats?
Not with me, Your Honor. I can't find them. They were
in my Target.
within a year and a
on
half.
my Target card.
I've had the car seats.
How old are your children?
3 and 4.
And I've been dad for the past 2 years.
Okay.
The last day of them screaming, I want my daddy.
You get $50 each for the car seats. Go out and buy new car seats for your children if they still need them. So
Her
far,
girlfriend already
so far,
purchased
I'm
new ones.
speaking.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Because that'll cover the toys that were in there as well. So that means that he owes you $600, which I'm holding until he gets his laptop. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now you have your ring back. You have your money back. You're going to get your PC back. You have your down payment back, and you have the value of the property that was in the car when he took it back. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, now you don't like each other anymore? You don't have children together? There is absolutely no reason for you to be involved with each other? Right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Go by,
I
have a happy
appreciate it.
life, go separately, and stay separate.
You
That's
don't want to hear
all.
none of the drama? That's
No, I don't want to hear any drama. I don't like drama. I make my own drama.
I understand, Your Honor.
Excuse me, step out.
I took care of her kids for 2 years.
I have 2 small children. Yes, he's not the father of them, and he took on that role.
He's bad news.
Her mom making allegations
He assaulted me back in December.
that I was sexually abusing the kids, physically abusing the kids, abusing her physically.
He assaulted my granddaughter.
Spanking, is child abuse, and he spanked my youngest. She's 3.
It's outrageous.
She had a handprint on her butt for 3 weeks.
I don't like him.
Her ex was living at her parents' house for the past year.
He has no relationship with Jenny. He has a girlfriend.
She went there for a whole week. I didn't know he was there.
They have not been together since the youngest child.
2 different lives.
Stay away from creeps like that.
Don't let a man control you.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mentier versus Mentier, step forward, please.
22-year-old Catherine Mentier is suing her mother-in-law, Melissa Mentier, for unpaid loans to buy a dress and to pay for a plane ticket to New York.
Miss Mentier, this is your mother-in-law.
Yes, that is correct.
And according to your complaint, you made a series of loans to her?
Yes,
She hasn't paid you back.
that is correct.
Your mother-in-law, she says, well, you're her daughter-in-law, so you're supposed to help her out. And then she said that you had her son arrested for domestic violence, so she's not paying you back any money.
Oh, okay.
She's wrong.
Right.
When did you have her son arrested?
I didn't have her son arrested.
Was he arrested?
He was arrested. I did not have him arrested.
Was there a domestic violence incident?
No. No domestic violence actually occurred, though that was the allegation.
Well, tell me why she thinks she would blame you for having him arrested.
Because anytime anything happens with her son, it's my fault.
Where's her son?
Her son is right here. This
That
is
would
my
be
husband.
you?
Yes. He's a perfect angel in her eyes, so he couldn't do anything wrong.
He doesn't look like an angel.
He's my angel.
Maybe your angel, but he doesn't look like an angel. How many times have you been arrested?
That would be
Stand up when you talk to me.
that would be my first time being arrested.
For what?
I was arrested for the domestic violence, but
Domestic violence on whom?
my wife, I guess.
Well, what happened, sir?
We got into an argument, and I don't know, some issues just came up, and I got a claim filed against me, and I ended up getting pulled over at McDonald's or something like that, and they pulled up a warrant that I actually had outstanding.
A warrant for what?
The domestic violence charge that I was given from Pataskala.
And you were quickly let go.
Yeah, I stayed one night in county and was released.
Are you living together now?
Yes.
Who do you work for?
I worked for her father as a chimney sweep. My previous job before that was at Circle K, but I actually quit that so I could stay home and take care of the children.
Whose children?
Her children, but yeah.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
1.5 and 6.
6-year-old is your child?
No, neither of them are mine.
I didn't ask
Sorry.
you anything. Let's start with this premise, Mrs. Mentier. Parents don't borrow from children. Children take, parents give. Who do you work for?
I don't. I'm on disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
Mental.
How long have you been receiving disability?
About 10 years.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
18 and 5.
Well, your mental disability didn't impair you from having another child. Do you take medication for your disability?
Yes, I do.
Were you taking medication when your 5-year-old was born?
Yes, I was.
Is your 5-year-old normal?
Yes, he is.
Where is his father?
At work right now, I would assume. He's in the picture.
Does he live with you?
No.
Does he pay support?
Yes, he does.
How much money did you take from your daughter-in-law?
Well, I don't really feel that I owe her anything.
I didn't ask you what you feel. I'm not interested in what you feel. People who work for disability care about what you feel, Miss Mentier. I do not. I asked you how much money you took from your daughter-in-law.
I didn't take anything. She gave it to me.
One gives and one takes. Do you understand?
She assisted me with my rent.
I didn't ask you that.
$500 for my rent.
Good. That's one of the things that you took from her. $500 for your rent. What else did you take from her?
She purchased me a dress for the wedding.
How much was that?
It was actually a number of things that we bought at the bridal store that we did settle on the amount of $200 that she would pay me back.
When did you settle on the amount at the bridal store?
When we'd made the purchase.
Is that what she spent on her dress?
It was actually over that. As I'm sure she'll tell you, my dog ate a pair of her shoes one time. So the bill was actually more than $200, but to compensate for that, we settled on the amount of $200.
What else did you give her?
The airfare. She wanted to travel to see a friend. So
What kind of friend?
One of her friends, I guess, from New York.
Male or female?
Oh, male.
Why did you go to New York to visit a friend?
To get away.
Where was your 5-year-old?
He was at home.
With whom?
With my son. Was watching him.
Son works.
At the time, he was not. That's one of the times he was living with me, back and forth between her house and mine.
How much was the airfare?
$263, I think.
So what you're telling me is your daughter-in-law, from whom your son was estranged, they weren't even living together, gave you money so that you could go and visit a boyfriend in New York? Is that what you're telling me? Just a second. I want to understand this. You said your son was estranged from his wife because he was living with you, so he was there to take care of your 5-year-old. And your daughter-in-law, from whom your son was estranged, I assume for good reason, according to you, gave you as a gift money so that you could go and have a good time in New York.
It was their fault I was stressed.
No, madam. It's your fault that you're stressed.
She took my son from me. I don't think I owe her anything.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she does have a mental disability. I'm not sure. Let me explain something to you, sir. How old are you?
18.
And how old are you?
22.
Your mother has a personality disorder. I don't know about a mental disability that prevents her from working. She can certainly travel to see a boyfriend. She can certainly make a baby and take care of a baby. So as far as mental disability is concerned, I think the only people who have a disability are the people who decided that she deserves disability. That's not what I'm here to make a decision about. You have to make a judgment. You got married?
Yes.
You plan on staying married?
Yes.
Good. First of all, this is a court. It's not a basketball court. So when you come to court, you look like an adult. You don't dress like a baby. Do you understand?
Yes.
You're dressing like a baby to come to court.
I apologize.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to wear in your wardrobe?
Yes, I do.
Well, then you should have worn it. You owe your daughter-in-law $963. Pay it!
That's case number 336 on the calendar in the matter of Keenis versus Jaworski.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Judge Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Miss Keenis, this is your daughter.
Yes, it is.
Does she have any siblings?
Yes, she does.
How many?
2, a brother and a sister. She's the oldest.
Is she a cute baby?
Gorgeous.
Is she a nice baby?
Yeah, very well-mannered.
Must have been because you had 2 more.
Yeah.
Well, you're not getting along so much anymore, and it is your claim that your daughter owes you the balance of 2 loans. One loan that you made to her several years ago in order to permit her to open up a business. That loan was for $10,000, and she's paid back a substantial part of that loan.
That's correct.
Over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. You were opening a beauty salon, and you were able to do that through the loan from your mom.
Exactly.
The second loan was for $2,000, and that was more recently, and that was to permit her to get an attorney because she was going through a divorce.
Correct.
With regard to that $2,000, your daughter says there was never any discussion of a loan, that you were ecstatic that she was divorcing the husband, and you agreed to help her secure an attorney so that she could
Your Honor.
so that she could successfully conclude the divorce process. So let's deal with the first loan. When was that, Ms. Jaworski?
It would have been in August because I bought the business. I took possession
August
of
of what year?
03.
And it was for $10,000?
Yes.
Was there supposed to be interest paid on the loan?
No.
Well, tell me how you were going to make this loan with no interest.
I knew that she had money left over from my grandmother's estate.
Put your hand down. What do you mean left over?
Well, my grandmother didn't take care of things how you're supposed to, and so all of the money that was left out of her estate went to the state for her care. But there was somehow this money left over that the state didn't know
much
about.
Money?
I knew of $10,000.
Okay, go ahead.
And so I asked my mom if I could borrow that $10,000 from her because I knew it was in the bank sitting there, and so that there wouldn't be interest or anything on it because we already had the money.
Well, there would be interest on it. If she loans you $10,000, then she's losing the interest on $10,000 for as long as it takes you to pay her back.
There was never any discussion of it.
But you do understand that.
I understand what you're saying, but in my mind, it wasn't that way.
I don't care what was
just
in your
sitting
mind.
there.
What I'm telling you is, if your mother takes the money out of the bank, then she's losing interest on it, so there is a loss. I also don't understand why she should make this loan to you without interest when you have a brother and a sister. Why would she just let you have it all yourself?
Because it was just going to be a loan. It was going to be paid back.
In what period of time?
There was no set period of time. Because when you open a business, you never know. Most businesses fail in the first 5 years. And
Well,
so,
what happens if your business failed? You mean you weren't going to pay her back the money?
Well, no, I never intended not to pay her back the money.
But you just said most businesses fail within the first few years. What happens if your business failed?
Well, if my business failed, I would still have to pay her, but it was just to help me out. It was my mom helping me out. It was family helping family out.
But she didn't take that money out of the bank.
At the last minute, she had decided that she was going to pull it off of a credit card because she was nervous about the state finding out that she still had that money.
You mean she didn't think that they would find out about it if she kept it in the bank? Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. I'm listening to the story. So she wanted to take it off of her credit card rather than take it out of the bank because she was afraid that the state would find out.
Well, she was worried that they would find out and then she wouldn't have the money sitting there.
Keep going.
No, that's really what happened.
Keep going.
And so at the last minute, she decided to pull it off of her credit card because it was 0 interest. And either way, it wouldn't matter. There was
Zero interest for how long? Forever?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You're in business. You don't have 0 interest forever, maybe for a year or two, but not forever.
I never saw any of the credit card information. I have no idea, to tell you the truth.
Well, let's understand this. You knew at the time that you accepted this loan that it was coming off of a credit card. Is that right, Ms. Jaworski?
At the last minute, yes.
I don't care if it's the last minute or the last second. You always could say no.
I know, but I'd already given
Listen to me. You always could say no.
Mm-hmm. And then if I had...
Who cares what happens if you had? If you had, you go to work in somebody else's beauty parlor. Now, there was 0 interest. And as a business person, you know that 0 interest isn't forever. It's for a fixed period of time, which was for how long?
2 years.
That brings us up to 2005. As of August 2005, how much money did you give her?
I haven't split it out. These are just the statements that I have until then.
Well,
I didn't add that up.
I don't do that. Math wasn't my strong suit.
Me either.
You either? Then you
No.
shouldn't be in business. But if you didn't pay her back in the 2-year period of time when there was 0 interest on the credit card, you owe her whatever the interest is. End of discussion. Now, how much is on the credit card?
On the credit
Not with the $2,000 for the lawyer. I'm not dealing with that yet.
Well, it was all on one credit card, and the balance due on it when she stopped making the payment was $4,995.
Show me.
Ma'am, before you roll, can I say something else?
Well, this is not the last one. That's after I've made a payment, but...
Can I see that bird, please?
I've made like the last 6 or 7 payments on it.
Now you wanted to say something, Ms. Jaworski?
I do, because the interest situation.
Mm-hmm.
She had said when we put it on that credit card that if the interest came due, that she would either take the money out of the estate and put it back on there. So I would never, the agreement was never any interest. It really wasn't.
Listen to me. You knew at the time she was taking out an interest-free loan for 2 years in order to cover this loan that she was making for you. You had 2 years to pay her back. You didn't. Then interest develops, and whether she takes the money out of the bank and loses interest, you still have to pay. Now tell me about the $2,000 for the lawyer.
When we were going through the divorce, or when Chris...
When was that?
That would have been in 2000, I believe, 5.
Now, by 2005, we were starting to get some interest on this loan.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay, well, so then we're going through our divorce, and I didn't have the money to retain a lawyer. At first, we were just going to do it ourselves. And I was telling her that he was going to try to get custody of the children from me, and that I needed to retain a lawyer. And what I don't understand is she hated...
Just don't tell me anything other than what happened. Not what you don't understand, not what you do understand. Not interested in what you understood. Tell me what happened.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's seeing my ex-husband.
That's not true. I'm seeing my grandchildren.
She's been seeing her grandchildren at your ex-husband's house, which ticked you off.
And later today,
Where's her cat?
That cat ran around outside. She lost that cat the first 2 weeks she was there. She couldn't find it. I don't have no cat.
The cat was still there.
Melissa Kina says her daughter, Jamie Jaworski, owes for 2 unpaid loans. Jamie says her mother is conspiring with her ex-husband to ruin her life.
Now, you were crying to your mother that your ex-husband was going to try to get custody of the children, and you couldn't afford a lawyer. You didn't have any money.
Basically. And she
Right.
said not to worry
And?
about it, that she would take care of it. And she sent me 2 checks.
From where?
From her credit card.
And?
And she wasn't worried about me paying her back. I didn't know how I was going to end up financially after the divorce.
How did you end up financially after the divorce?
I ended up giving him basically everything. I got $20,000 equity out of the house, of which I gave her a check for $4,000.
You did give her a big check.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got $20,000 from the sale of the house, why didn't you pay her back everything that you owed her?
Because I was buying another house, and I was trying to have a little nest egg in case when you're employed by yourself, it's always good to have a little money back up.
Well, but if the only nest egg your mother had was the $10,000 she had of your grandmother's money, why should you have a nest egg and not her?
I don't know. I've really thought about it that way.
But isn't that a nice way to think about it, Ms. Jaworski? I mean, how old are you?
I'm 37.
And how old is your mother?
My mom must be 57.
Yesterday.
57. So if somebody has to sort of struggle to put together a nest egg, isn't it easier for you, who's starting a new business, to put together a nest egg than your mother, who's 57? Especially since you spent the money. So it's real nice of you to want to have a nest egg all by yourself. But if what you're suggesting is that your mother said, well, if you don't pay the note back in the 2 years, that it's interest-free, you'll take the money out of your nest egg.
No, that wasn't the way it is. I think.
Well, that's what you just told me.
But
I'm just following what you told me.
I think you're misinterpreting it.
No, that's what you told me.
No, it's not.
Does that sound what you just told me?
Sounds like what she told you.
That she would take the money out of her nest egg and pay off the credit card and wait for you to finish putting your nest egg together so you would pay her. Duh.
If you have a business and you don't have operating capital and you don't have money to buy and bring things in and out, you can't run a business. And so that's what I used the other part of that money for. Was
That's not what you just told me.
It is. I had it.
No,
in
that's not what you just told me.
I had it set aside so if something happened with the business that I could keep it going.
That's your nest egg.
Well, I had to because if
You
I
owe your mother $4,000.
If I lose the shop,
You owe your mother $4,000. And I gather that the reason she's here is because you stopped paying her, according to your mother, because you had an estranged relationship for a while. Why, I don't know.
Because she's seeing my ex-husband.
Well, that's what you say. That's what you say.
That's not true. I'm seeing my grandchildren.
That's
and her
what you say.
ex-husband.
I think that makes it very convenient for you, Ms. Jaworski, because she wasn't seeing her grandchildren, and she wrote a letter, according to her, to her grandson when he was at his father's house, and his father called her and said, if you want to see the boys, you can see them, and she's been seeing them at your ex-husband's house, which ticked you off. So you stopped paying the loan. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There will not ever be a relationship.
I was done when she stopped making the payments.
It's not about the money. It's about the things that she's done.
It's just the way she is. She's very self-centered.
The fact that she's seeing my ex-husband.
She's whacked in the head. He's got a girlfriend.
I just think it's odd that he would go spend a week with her when they've had no relationship and they hated each other.
This is the second or third time she's gone around and slandered me, and I'm done with it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Highmark versus Rigsby. Step forward, please.
25-year-old Anna Highmark is suing her ex-boyfriend, Eddie Rigsby Jr., for the return of her belongings. Anna says Eddie threw her out of their apartment and then disposed of her property.
Ms. Highmark, what was your relationship with the defendant when you moved in with him?
We were friends. At that point, there was no other involvement.
According to what I'm reading between the lines, you moved in with him and relocated from one jurisdiction to another.
Correct.
And you traveled with a child.
Correct.
How old is your child?
She's 6.
Where had you been living?
In South Dakota, in Madison.
And where did you move to, sir?
Quad Cities, Illinois.
Who did you know in Illinois?
I knew nobody, but my apartment had flooded, and I had to move either way, and I disliked South Dakota tremendously. And
who lives in South Dakota?
All of my family.
So you were going to Illinois with a 6-year-old child, with someone with whom you were no longer romantically involved, just a friend, leaving your entire family and support system there. Did you have a job?
Within a week of moving to Illinois.
You found the job?
Yes.
What were you doing?
Working at the Army base.
Are you still there?
No, that was a temporary job. I've worked a series of temporary jobs since then.
Are you still in Illinois?
I'm in Iowa, across the border.
Who were you living with?
A friend.
Male friend or female friend?
Male.
When did you meet him?
When I moved to Illinois, about 3 weeks after.
And your daughter? Where's her father?
Her father is in South Dakota still.
Who's this?
This is my daughter's grandmother.
Her father's mother?
Yes.
Is your claim that when you moved with Mr. Rigsby to Illinois, you moved into his apartment, and that at some point he threw you out of the apartment and discarded your property?
My claim is that we got an apartment together where I was going to stay for about 2 months.
Was there a lease on the apartment?
In his name.
So then you didn't get an apartment together. He got an apartment.
With my money as well.
So what happened?
The day we arrived in Illinois, he began threatening me, saying he was going to have random women come over and beat me up, and when I was at work, he was going to throw my things out on the street, and a variety of things like that. And he got into my jewelry box a number of times, and 3 days in a row, I called and politely asked him not to dig in my jewelry box anymore.
Where did you call him?
On his cell phone, which I had gotten for him.
Why didn't you have this discussion when he came home? Was he not staying at home?
No, he wasn't.
When did he stop staying in his apartment?
The day he got it.
Why?
Because we didn't get along.
Where was he living?
Random women's apartments.
Who paid the rent?
It was split 50-50. There was 2 months free rent. There was a $450 deposit. I put down $200 on the deposit, and he put down $250.
So the first 2 months that you were there was no rent?
I was only there for 26 days.
So what you're telling me is you paid $200 to live there for 26 days?
Correct.
Okay. When did you come home and take her stuff and put it out at the curb, sir?
She was there for about a month. It was 2 days before the month was up. I put it on the curb. It wasn't on the curb. It was in front of the door. And this was like, I put most of it out there.
You told me curb. You wrote curb, sir.
Well, door, I meant.
Well, tell me the circumstances surrounding
after,
you
let's see, I put all the little stuff out first. Hoping she'd come back because I didn't want to put the TV. She had a little 1980s TV and a little bamboo chair, and I didn't want to put it out there because I didn't want to steal it. A month and a half goes by, she still hasn't been there.
Are you telling me that she left the apartment?
She called the cops on me. After the month was up, I told her she'd stay there 1 month. I said, you have to get your own place. My landlord didn't even want her there. She hit my garage. She almost hit my landlord, driving around.
A month is gone. And what happened?
I told her she had to go.
So did she leave?
Yeah, she called the cops on me.
She called the cops on you?
He said I was an intruder in my own home.
Okay. After the police arrived, what happened, Miss Highmark?
They said that there was no reason to arrest him.
There wasn't.
Besides his threatening me and bringing over people saying they were going to beat me up and taking
Miss Highmark, get over it. I don't believe you, period. Keep going. So you called the police,
I called
and the police said the lease to the apartment is in his name. They're not going to put him out. And what did you do?
I said I need a safe place to go. And they put me in a domestic violence shelter.
Perfect. So you left that night?
Yes.
When did you come back for your things?
Every day for the next month and a half.
Tell me how you went back.
I went back looking for his vehicle. His vehicle was not there. He was not there. So I left the note on his door saying I would be there the following Sunday at 2 p.m. I showed up, and he was not there. So I went over there consistently every day looking for his vehicle until finally one day I did find his vehicle there and called the police and had them knock on the door and ask if I could retrieve my belongings. And he said he no longer had them, although they were visible behind him.
What was visible behind him? A pot, you said?
There's crock pot, knife blocks, and dishes.
You mean you saw that from the door where you were standing?
What was in the kitchen I could see, because it was the kitchen door.
Okay.
This is the list right here of items.
Let me take a look at it.
You didn't take your cat? I was going to a domestic violence shelter. I was not able to.
Did you see her cat?
No. That cat ran around outside all the time, and that cat was never around. She lost that cat the first 2 weeks she was there. She couldn't find it. I don't have no cat in the fight.
The cat was still there. The next day when I returned, the only belongings that he had put out on the curb were the empty litter box with the scoop and the cat food and a folder of papers.
So yeah, so if I got a cat just running around doing this thing all over my house.
All of this stuff is maybe worth $1,000. Maybe, if I believe it's all there. $5,000 never happened. Discard her stuff. You can't put it out. Do you understand?
See, this is the thing. She knew I worked during the day. She knew when to come and get her stuff. I work anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day. She knows, come at night.
Listen to me. You go to a local police precinct and you say, listen, this is what I have. I have all this junk, because all this is...
Junk.
Junk.
Yeah.
But it's her junk. It's not your junk. So you don't have the right to throw out her junk. You understand that?
I understand that.
It's annoying. She was annoying. I get it. But you have no right to dump her stuff. You have to preserve it for a reasonable period of time, considering the fact that she was removed from the house with her child, limited window of time. So you have to take reasonable care, especially since she did pay $200 towards the rent, right?
Yeah.
None of this stuff is worth, according to you, $6,574. Not on a great day is this.
I don't know what she's got up there,
$6,000.
but what she left was a 1980s TV, a piece of junk bamboo chair, some CDs, and a crock pot.
What'd you do with her CDs?
All this stuff was gone. I don't even listen to the CDs. Not even the type of music I listen to.
Fine. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all. Step out.
Hello, hi everyone. Let me talk about what is Master and Visa card basically. Okay, so basically Visa and MasterCard both are payment methods, TKG, which are used to accept the payments and make purchases widely. And let me set the camera first. Okay, now I think it's okay now. So what their purpose is basically to make online purchases and to use, and in both cards when you charge it your balance will be deducted. Okay, so the another thing which is the Mastercard is used for is fees. Visa prohibited merchants from charging additional fees or setting minimum amount for a Visa card purchases, but Mastercard is basically the major one which is used for the purchases as well. So both cards are issued by the banks, or both our cards can be operable in to 10 countries and also in the United States of America. So United States of America basically issues the mostly Visa cards and their own card which is American Express. So let me talk about what is American Express. Basically, American Express is a global service company that offers a variety of products and services including credit cards, bankings, and travel, global assist, my credit card, etc. So it also offers a credit card with no limits, which include hotel and retail options. Okay, so you can see that American Express card include the hotel options. You can charge it anywhere any else and enjoy it with your near ones and enjoy the limits as well as the finance of it. So basically the uses of these cards like Mastercards, Visa cards and other cards is very rarely used, and you can buy them buy from them products like whatever you want, wherever you want to make it charge. But the thing you have to confirm is you have the balance in your bank account or in your credit card or Mastercard or Visa card or American Express card, so the amount can be deducted easily. So the another thing is you can choose whatever you can buy things, and most famous thing, it can work globally. You can charge it in Dubai, in any country you want, in China, in Russia, and Spain, Europe, Italy, France. So wherever you are, you can use your cards to make shoppings from stores and to make them, like, you can say that you make purchases. Well, it makes your life easy. So my suggestion is to definitely adopt the cards, especially from the banks, and having the account, complete a procedure to opening the bank account in any bank according to their own rule and regulations. So you can consult with the bank in which you want to open the account, and want to have a credit card or debit card, whatever you can ask from bank. They will guide you as their per rule and regulations. Okay, so follow the rule and regulations, and always be polite, and you only use for legal purposes, and don't break the rules which may be harmful for you, especially in the world as well as in the United States of America. And that's the things which I want to share with you guys. And you can now charge it, and whatever you want is finance and banking systems, etc. So hope you guys like this video, and make sure to share and subscribe it, and keep supporting for such kind of knowledge videos. So thank you so much, and have a good day, have a good night, and have a good evening, also have a good morning. Okay, I don't know at which time you are watching this video, so for all, you have all good things in your life. Thank you so much. Make sure to like and subscribe.